And a very good morning to you, Grenada, and the rest of the world. Under beautiful sunny skies here on this Sunday morning. Today happens to be the 21st day of July. And I'm George Grant saying welcome to today's edition of Sundays with George Grant. Yes, sir. I certainly hope that you folks have got great plans for the weekend. It's a nice weekend to be outdoors. Nice weekend, well, at least today. I can imagine that a lot of people are going to be off on the beach this morning having a great time, and hopefully the weather holds. And tomorrow you'll be all reinvigorated and ready to get back to work, take on the world. How about that? Hey, how about that? Have you ever heard the term chock-a-block? Yeah? Well, let me tell you, boy. This morning we are chock-o-block. Yes, sirree. Yes, sirree. It's going to be a good day. It's a lot of stuff going on here today. So I don't think we're going to waste too much time chocking and blocking. Let's just get right into today's rundown. Or should I first say good morning to the folks out there? Let's see here. I see that Fitzroy Adams is saying good morning from a really, really hot New York. Yeah, you know, I don't have a lot of time to watch television, but I have, yesterday I think it was, yeah, I happened to glance at one of your channels up there in the United States, CNN. Yeah, man. I see where the heat index was up to something like 116 degrees Fahrenheit. Woo! Well, I guess we are a little bit better off down here. We haven't gotten that high, but I'll tell you one thing. We have been having some very warm temperatures here. You know, you run around town and you see people going, yeah. It's been pretty warm down here as well. So my heart goes out to you guys. I sort of sympathize with you. But then again, you know, at least you don't have to shovel it, eh? It's always good and bad about everything, eh? So anyhow, let's get into today's rundown. We will begin with the buzz, where we do have, as always, a reading from the Holy Scriptures. And we do have little Angel on board this morning. Don't know what's gotten into her, boy, but I'll tell you, she's very, very brief this morning. Brief, but to the point. I sent her a thank you note. I got this really late, just before midnight last night, and I sent her a note saying thank you. Potent. Yeah. Short but powerful stuff from Little Angel this morning. So hang on, we'll get to that in just a wee bit. As far as the editorials are concerned, we do have two, as customary, for you. As always, the first is from the Grenada Advocate, which is captioned, Agriculture, a Path to Economic Empowerment. Yeah. You know, the agriculture industry in this country has been going through some very, very trying times over the past few years. And I don't know, but something about this article sparked something in me, which said, you know, I think Grenada needs to be paying a lot more attention to agriculture because it's going to take off. Call me an optimist if you want, yeah. I'm glad to be an optimist. And I really believe that agriculture has a very, very great future. We have so much produce in this place. We just haven't been managing it well, you know. Do very little processing, very little marketing, very little investment in agriculture and so on. So people don't want to get their little pinkies dirty anymore. Well, watch. I really do believe that is going to change. Then we do have the new today. The new today is captioned, "Answers are needed." And let me give you a heads up right now. On several occasions over the next 3 hours, you're going to be hearing, I'm not going to tell you what the new today is referring to. I'm going to keep you in suspense for just a wee bit. But several times during this morning's program, you are going to be hearing mention made to the issue mentioned in the new today, okay? So just be patient and wait a little while, and we'll get to that. You won't have to wait too long. Now, if you've taken a look at the rundown, you've noticed that we only have one interview. He's talking about chock-a-block, but he only has one interview per se logged here this morning. It's captioned, "The 2019 Real Estate Report," and Century 21 celebrates 5 years. Century 21, been around the block now for 5 years. And during those 5 years, they've been here with us an awful lot. They've been on here several times. Well, they're coming to, first of all, share with us about the 2019 Real Estate Report. And then we're going to find out just how they're celebrating and some of the other activities that they have been into or are getting into, okay? By they, Georgie Porgy means Paula Touche, who's the owner / broker for Century 21 here in Grenada. And she's going to be joined by our good friend Beverly Renwick, who's the sales manager with Century 21. And the gentleman, you know, Beverly and Paula, I know they've been with us 17 times, but Denzel, I think Denzel may have been with us in the past on one of their visits. Denzel McMail, he's a sales agent with Century 21, all right? So all three, I've got the studio reconfigured this morning to facilitate these folks. So keep our pinkies crossed that everything works just fine. We're expecting them here at about 9:45 this morning. Now, features, yeah. I lumped a number of things under features this morning. Let's take a look. The one that really has me buzzing is an excerpt that we're going to run from, I think it was Monday's edition of Good Day Grenada, right here on this channel. This is captioned, "At last, government is about to be held accountable for unpaid monies." Yaman. In a recent case here in Grenada, the High Court ruled that, there are a lot of people who have taken cases, grievances to court against the government. And the courts have ruled in favor of these people, but they haven't been paid a cent by the government. Okay? Now, in all fairness, I think it was earlier on this year, we heard that the government has begun paying some of these claims, okay? Well, the High Court has now ruled that if that situation arises again, the aggrieved persons can hold the government accountable, and you could take their stuff. Music to your ears? wait until you hear Jimmy Bristol. Jimmy Bristol is the person who took this case to the courts. And man, this guy, he was in here on Monday and he was just bubbling. And it was an interesting conversation. I think it probably ran about 25 minutes or so. And I thought, for those who aren't able to join us on a weekday morning for a Good Day Grenada, I thought, I got to show them this on Sunday morning. I really got it. So please, hang in there for that. We're going to get to Jimmy right after we deal with the folks from Century 21. Okay? Now, second feature, Mr. Brian Pitt. Brian Pitt made his weekly, Friday morning visit with us. And as usual, we talked about a number of different things, including the, oh boy, this one's been the buzz in social media in this country for the past week. You heard about the incident that with Spice Mass, the Spice Mass CEO and the sponsor who feels aggrieved that her company is not going to be allowed to sell bottled water at any Spice Mass event, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Well, we talked a bit about that. Brian also touched on the indecency in Carnival and the influence that the music that we play at Carnival has on people. He has an interesting story to tell as well. And obviously, he touched on the statement made in Montreal, last, not this past Friday, the Friday before. PM was attending a town hall meeting, and he made some comments which ruffled a lot of feathers. That too has been going bzzz on the streets and social media, on radio, on television. Oh, it's all over the place, all over the place. So, those are some of the things Brian's going to touch on this morning, or touched on Friday, and you will be seeing this morning. And finally, this one also touches on the PM. And the question is being asked, can Prime Minister Mitchell be taken seriously? Do you know, when I think of my Prime Minister, I look up. And I do expect that what I hear will be a reflection of realities. Well, check out social media if you haven't. Makes you wonder. Now, I have some explaining to do here before I move on, because oh boy. I received a phone call earlier this week. Well, today is the start of a new week, so early last week, from the Public Workers Union, inviting me to attend a press conference at which they were going to be dealing with this issue we're talking about, the Prime Minister and what he said about the rights or obligations of civil servants. I explained to the person who called that the press conference was at 10:30, by the way. So I explained to the person that sadly I would not be able to attend because I'm generally on the air. If I'm lucky, I get off at exactly 10 o'clock. And once I get off, I have editing to do, and uploading to YouTube, and this and that and the other. So very rarely am I able to leave the studio until about 11 o'clock, okay? So I said to her, look, I can't make it, but please, I really want to hear from the unions, their views on this particular issue involving the Prime Minister, all right? So I said, please, I would like somebody to appear on Sunday's program, that's this morning's program. Talk it over among yourselves and decide who you're gonna send, and let me know. Today is Sunday morning. Still haven't heard from them, all right? And then I saw the president of the Public Workers Union, a lady who's been in here with us umpteen times, Rachel Roberts. I saw her on a local television program one night, talk show, and she dealt with the issue, okay? She was talking about the way the unions felt about the Prime Minister's comments. The night of the press conference, I also saw a lady by the name of Daizy Hazzard, who's the public relations officer with the Public Workers Union. She too is obviously making comments about the PM's statements. And she asked a very potent question. Where are the people who have stood up and tried to do what they're being paid to do, but not being allowed to? Okay? So I thought, maybe I should get this lady. But then I spoke with the president, Rachel Roberts, and she said to me she would be able to appear on the program, but couldn't actually come in here, so she'd like to do it by Zoom, right, on her smartphone. So I said, okay, I'm going to get back to you, and we'll set a time up, and I'll explain to you how we go through this Zoom process. Well, my dear friends, I tried reaching her on Friday. Couldn't. Sent her a WhatsApp. Tried reaching her on Saturday morning. Couldn't. Saturday afternoon, I think it was. I received a phone call from Daizy Hazzard, or Hazzard, whatever. And she said to me, is this George Grant? Yeah. My name is Daizy Hazzard. I'm the Public Relations Officer of Public Workers Union, and I've been informed that on Sunday morning you're going to have Rachel Roberts on your program, and I want to be there. And I thought, serious stuff. It sounded to me, I could be wrong, sounded to me like, she was demanding airtime. And I thought to myself, geez, I've got the president of the union, coming in, and the public relations officer is, sort of making it look like I made a mistake. Georgie Porgy kept calm. And then she went on to tell me that she's the person who should be speaking because she's the public relations officer. And that she noticed, she'd been told that on my website, I said that Ms. Roberts was coming in here to speak about the Public Workers Union. And I thought, hey, hold on, wait a minute. If you go to my website, I'm sure many of you are there right now, you'll see that what Ms. Roberts was coming in here to talk about were the comments made by the PM regarding civil servants. And I started to get a little bit antsy, okay? But I decided, you know what, George? Let her come. Let her come. So, Miss Daizy Hazzard is going to be appearing here this morning, hopefully, at 11 o'clock, all right? Last night, Georgie Porgy finally managed to get a hold of the president. And I explained, you know, what I've just explained to you. And she said, well, all right, if the PRO's coming, I'm not going to appear. And I thought, oi, you know? So Rachel's not going to appear this morning, but she's listening. Rachel has always been a really good guest when she's been in here. And I'm sorry you're not going to be here, Rachel, but let's hear what's going to be presented by Miss Hazzard, okay? All right. So there's your rundown for today's edition of Sundays with George Grant, all right? Now, I started taking a look at Facebook, and I got sidetracked. Let me get back. Peter is saying good morning from Long Island, Grenada sunshine. She says she's in New York, and it's a sizzling Sunday. John Kennison saying good morning from number 1. Yeah, man. Kayaku, parish number 1. Fitzroy, we've already addressed. Peter says it's 90 degrees. 90 degrees at 9 o'clock in the morning, boy. Boy, that's hot. And New York doesn't just get hot. New York gets muggy, really muggy. Ryan is saying pleasant Sunday. Lydia James saying good morning. Kathleen Thomas is also saying it's sizzling in Toronto. I spoke to somebody in Toronto. I spoke to my brother a couple of days ago. Not my brother. Somebody else in Toronto I think it was on yesterday morning. They said it was hot like hell up there as well. So, yeah, the United States, they're having a really major heat wave. And obviously Canada as well. Kipling Francis is sending God's blessings, and Chester Simon is saying good morning and greetings from Zurich, Switzerland. He's also sending blessings. Arthur Langai says, happy Sunday, Brother George. It's always a pleasure hearing you on a Sunday. You are... Don't make me blush, Arthur, but thank you for your kind words. Peter Bishop says, for agriculture to take off, it may need agriculture gate. Yeah, we have Cellgate, we have Phone Gate. Looks like now we also have Mass Gate or SMC Gate, whatever. Ryan says, Grenada farming and animal rearing necessary for survival. Yeah. I think that day is coming, Ryan. He's also saying real estate morning. Yeah, we're going to talk a lot about real estate this morning. Oswin Lewis just came from the beach. Well, Oswin, I guess you're right here in Grenada, and boy, what a beautiful morning it is for the beach. Thanks for getting back home in time to join us. Kipling says, now, and by the way, folks, I'm reading these things for the first time, right? Kipling says, with each passing day, freedom is slowly deteriorating. Where is he now? Taken away by the very ones we trust to protect it. It's up to us now. It's up to us now to stop talking and start acting meaningfully. You're absolutely right, my dear sir. Arthur Langine says, I know lots of these people, so it's time that the government pay up. Okay. Let's see here. Peter Bishop says only people who drink the green Kool-Aid believe PM Mitchell. Marcus Williams says Spice Mass bills are all paid off. I hope I don't hear them saying they in debt after the carnival. because I don't understand what stupidness is this. You're always in debt, but you're restricting another company from selling. Okay. Sis Morel. I don't think I've seen this name before. Hello, Sis. Good morning. Betty Ann Court is sending Sunday blessings to you folks. Elton Sylvester says, good morning, George. God's blessings to you and your guests and listeners, home and abroad. Joining you from lovely, beautiful, sunny and hot Toronto. Yep, Elton, we heard TO is hot like heck. Anyway. Ernesto says, good morning, Principal G and Pilgrims. Welcome to Education Sunday, the only program with a difference in a humid 95 degrees New York City. 95. And feels like in the lower 100s. I was missing in action last Sunday. Went to Jamaica and had no internet. It was miserable, missing SWGG. Glad you're back, Ernesto. Sean is saying good morning from the Azores. Yeah, man. Peter, say, let's see here. John is saying, PR officers getting her nose put out of joint. That's an office battle going on there. Read the PWU. You know, I have deliberately tried to stay away from the alleged in-house fighting at the PWU. I'm hearing that, you know, things aren't too hunky-dory, but I just resent being drawn into it, okay? Doris Morin Charles says, good morning from Orlando, Florida. Hey, Ryan, you have a friend out there in Orlando. Boy, she says, yes, it's hot, so, geez, the heat's everywhere. And Lydia James saying, it's so hot, I'm afraid to go outside. Yes, Canada, it's hot. Charles Normer, anxiously awaiting your presentation, brother. Well, you're going to get it. Hang in there, Charlie. And Dennis Charles is saying, greetings, my brother Deno. Hello, Deno. Good to see you guys. Okay, folks, enough of that. Let me take a little break here, and we're going to come back and get started.
Mr. Watt. Mr. Watts, wait. Why are you removing my sign?
Sorry, Larry, but you can't put the sign on an electricity pole. That is an accident waiting to happen.
Mr. Watts, man, I just finished this new house. I need to put up a sign so that people would know that the apartment is for rent. Why can't I put my sign on the pole?
Larry, you should know better. Think about it. Nails, staples, glue, and signs make it difficult for linesmen to quickly and safely climb poles, and it can delay their response time when there is an emergency. These objects can prevent linesmen responding as quickly as they should in an emergency.
You know, I've never thought about those things, but you're absolutely right.
On top of that, Larry, your sign was covering the pole identification number. What if someone needed to report a fault? The pole number tells GRENLEC exactly where the problem is and allows them to respond faster.
Whoa, I really didn't consider all these things, you know. Come, let me help you take this down.
Remember, be safe, be smart. No more signs, banners, or posters on electricity poles.
GRENLEC, energizing our Grenada.
Studying too hard about back-to-school expenses? Co-op Bank is making back to school as easy as 1, 2, 3. Enjoy competitive interest rates, affordable monthly payments, speedy decisions on applications. Come in and apply today.
Welcome home.
You don't know how many hurricanes will be coming this season, so you need to be prepared. At Hubbard's Hardware and Building Supply departments and the Food Fair supermarkets, everything from canned foods, flashlights and batteries, to plywood, tarpaulin, lanterns, roof repair kits, water tanks, etc. are available. For over 90 years, we've helped you prepare for and recover from storms. Hubbard's Hardware, Food Fest Supermarkets, and the Grenadian General Insurance, an integral part of your hurricane preparedness plan.
Malcolm X is known the one over as a civil rights leader, black nationalist.
The Institute for People's Enlightenment, in collaboration with the UWI Open Campus Grenada, presents the 2019 Commemorative Emancipation Lecture at Norton's Hall, Church Street, St. George's, on Monday, July 29 at 5:30 p.m. The topic, The Making of Grenada and the Grenada Diaspora, the journey of Louise Langdon Norton Little, mother of Malcolm X, from Ladue, Grenada to Montreal, Canada, and to the USA. Presented by Grenadian-born Dr. Merle Collins, Professor of English, University of Maryland, USA.
For more information, email ipeemancipationlectures@gmail.com or call K. Julian Gutu at 459-8967 or Simon Green at 459-1582.
She come from a land, Louise Langdon Little, must be remembered too.
Alrighty, folks, it's 28 minutes away from 10 o'clock. Let's get into today's edition of The Buzz. Opening scripture, First Book of Peter, chapter 4, verses 12 to 18. Dear friends, do not be surprised at the fiery ordeal that has come on you to test you, as though something strange were happening to you. But rejoice, inasmuch as you participate in the sufferings of Christ, so that you may be overjoyed when his glory is revealed. If you are insulted because of the name of Christ, you are blessed, for the Spirit of glory and of God rests on you. If you suffer, it should not be as a murderer or thief or any other kind of criminal, or even as a meddler. However, if you suffer as a Christian, do not be ashamed, but praise God that you bear that name. For it is time for judgment to begin with God's household. And if it begins with us, what will the outcome be for those who do not obey the gospel of God? And if it is hard for the righteous to be saved, what will become of the ungodly and the sinner? So then, those who suffer according to God's will should commit themselves to their faithful Creator and continue to do good. 1 Peter chapter 4, verses 12 to 18. Now, time to check in with Little Angel. Her piece this morning is captioned, Corruption. Pilgrims, like I told you earlier on. It's short, to the point, and profound. And I quote, "The following two statements on corruption, which were taken from Transparency International, should resonate with most Grenadians who are inclined to understand current happenings within the country. 1. Corruption depletes national wealth. Corrupt politicians invest scarce public resources in projects that will line their pockets rather than benefit their communities, and prioritize high-profile projects over less spectacular but more urgent infrastructure projects such as schools, hospitals, and roads." That's one. 2. Corruption corrodes the social fabric of society. It undermines people's trust in their political system, in its institutions, and its leadership. A distrustful or apathetic public can then become yet another hurdle to challenging corruption. Grenadians ought to be concerned about their future and should make efforts to eliminate and avoid corruption at all costs. Corruption should not be accepted, practiced, or condoned. Little angel. I told you, short, to the point, potent. All right, break time. Come back with the editorials.
Conveniently located in the Grandand Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Granads will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep.
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Easy living should be convenient. With Renwick, it is. Dial 237 for any Renwick department, or for customer service, streetlight outages, or if it's unsafe to trim a tree near a power line. For streetlights and service issues, please note the pole number. From just about anywhere, you can also check your bill balance and other account information. Just keep your Renwick access number handy. Dial 237 for Renwick. It's that easy. Renwick, energizing our Grenada.
Alrighty, folks. It's now 22 minutes away from the hour. Let us get into the first editorial today, which comes to you from the Grenada Advocate, and it's captured Agriculture, a Path to Economic Empowerment. All right, here goes. Is it possible that establishing a career in the field of agriculture can be just as important as establishing a career in the fields of medicine, law, accounting, etc.? Go ahead and think about this question for a moment. Some may say yes, indeed. Others may have an opposing view. However, it can be argued that just as we need doctors, lawyers, and accountants in this country, we need farmers. We can even go a bit further, since in this modern era, young people are delving deeper into the agricultural sector and are not taking to the old traditional methods and practices our foreparents grew accustomed to. They are seeking to expand their horizons in the agricultural field, and as such, young persons will now tell you that they are setting their sights on becoming agripreneurs, animal geneticists, food scientists, biochemists, and the list goes on, as the possibilities are now endless. In fact, The National FFA organization, that's Future Farmers of America, points out that, and I quote, advances in science and technology are keeping farmers and agriculture professionals on top of their game. And by 2020, there will be even higher demand for skilled individuals in agriculture than there is today, unquote. The FFA predicts that the top 5 careers in agriculture in 2020 will be that of drone technologists, who will be able to show farmers how to increase yields and reduce crop damage using sensors, robotics and images from the air, hydrologists, who can protect the environment and promote sustainability while helping to supply the world with clean, safe water, agriculture communicators, who can share the story of agriculture and engage the public to better understand it, food scientists, who can improve food products and create new ones using scientific principles that help to maintain a wholesome food supply, and precision agriculture technologists who are able to teach farmers how to work better, not harder, by using new technologies that increase crop yields and decrease inputs. So given the above, we can see that if we can get more youth expanding their horizons where agriculture and its potential pursuits are concerned, we can certainly ensure better food security and, for sure, economic empowerment for young people going forward. With a new wave of technology available to those who wish to take agriculture to a whole new level, the possibilities are endless. What we need now, more than ever, however, are some incentives for youth to get involved in non-traditional areas of agriculture and for them to develop profitable agribusinesses. We also need persons and funding agencies willing to back those who dare to be different and who dare to try their hands at something new. We cannot deny that the interest is there amongst a select few, and that is what we must nurture. Not every youngster will keep up the interest in agriculture either, but the few that do can surely hone their skills and look for niche areas in which to grow and develop, thereby showing other youth that one can be successful in this field indeed, and it can bring a certain level of respect and economic returns that we can all be proud of. That, Pilgrims, is the editorial which appeared in this past week's edition of the Grenada Advocate. Just a wee bit, and we will get to the editorial from the New today. We've now been joined by Anthea out there in Decatur. She says she's late, but she's here. Yeah, better late than never, girl. Glad to see you anyway. And Roger Mitchell says, farmers feed nations. Absolutely, my friend, believe me. Keep your eyes on agriculture. It's going to take off. Has to. Yeah. Okay, let's take another little break here, and then we will, hold on. John Kennison says, hydroponics is a real option for good quality and high production on a large scale. That is corporate farming. Take a little break here. Thanks, John. Take a little break, and we'll come back with the New today.
Malcolm X is known the one over as a civil rights leader, black nationalist.
The Institute for People's Enlightenment, in collaboration with the UWI Open Campus Grenada, presents the 2019 Commemorative Emancipation Lecture at Norton's Hall, Church Street, St. George's, on Monday, July 29 at 5:30 p.m. The topic, The Making of Grenada and the Grenada Diaspora, the journey of Louise Langdon Norton Little, mother of Malcolm X, from Ladue, Grenada to Montreal, Canada, and to the USA. Presented by Grenadian-born Dr. Mel Collins, Professor of English, University of Maryland, USA.
For more information, email ipeemancipationlectures@gmail.com or call K. Julian Gutu at 459-8967 or Simon Green at 459-1582.
She come from a decline, though it's long and little, must be remembered too.
GRENADA Community Partnership Initiative.
This is not the first time that GRENLEC, through the GCPI, has responded positively to TAMCC, and we are always appreciative for the support. TAMCC, like the GCPI, is geared to service the community. As a college, we cannot accomplish our mission of fostering Grenada's development through education without meaningful partnerships from other community members. GRENLEC has been a leader in this regard.
GRENADA, energizing our community.
Can I have a chicken lunch, please? Large.
Real nice today.
I don't want that.
But you just asked for a chicken lunch.
I don't have problem with the lunch. Afraid the container.
What is the problem with it?
These styrofoam containers, they don't good for the environment. They shorten with life.
What foolishness you telling me? So what you want me to use?
Put my food in this.
Where you get that?
At the food fair, where you could get all biodegradable food boxes and disposable food supplies like cups, plates, anything you could think about. Name it, it's there. And they don't harm the environment. Food fair, taking the lead in cleaning up and protecting the environment. Hey, like you take me advice, you get in your biodegradable food supplies.
Well, girl, I supporting who supporting the environment. That is why I shop in at food fair.
Food fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets. Products distributed by Hubbard's agency, Kirani James Boulevard.
Studying too hard about back-to-school expenses? Co-op Bank is making back to school as easy as 1, 2, 3. Enjoy competitive interest rates, affordable monthly payments, speedy decisions on applications. Come in and apply today.
Alrighty, folks, it's now, let's see here, 12 minutes away from the hour. Running a little bit behind time. Let's get right into the editorial, which appeared in Friday's edition of the New Today. It is captioned, "Answers are needed." Cell phone gate has become the biggest scandal to rock the Keith Mitchell-led New National Party government since its return to power in 2013. There is no other single incident that has surfaced in recent years to have left the government so embarrassed and exposed, since some of its most clearly identifiable political activists have been caught, along with others openly cheating from the public purse. As an experienced politician, Prime Minister Mitchell has sought to hit back by trying to play the blame game, by trying to play the blame sharing card as his ace against public officers and the telecommunications provider, Digicel. It was a miscalculation on the part of the Prime Minister, since the counterattack which took place in Canada has backfired on him badly. With the video of the less than honest speech being brought back to Grenada in lightning speed through the social media platforms. Dr. Mitchell could have gotten away with a number of those unfortunate statements made in Canada because Grenadians living in the diaspora might be ignorant of a number of pertinent local issues. But at home, the following statement that came from the lips of the Prime Minister in Canada had Grenadians at home in consternation, and I quote, "I keep telling public servants, you have a responsibility. If you see a minister doing something, even if it's the Prime Minister, to stop it. Expose him or her. Don't be afraid They can't touch you. No politician can do you anything for doing your work in protecting the taxpayers, because he would be a dead politician when it gets out there, unquote. Does our Prime Minister really believe what he said? Can he look at a number of former senior public officers and repeat that to their faces? Richard Duncan, Brian Francis, Nolan Murray, Garvey Lewison, Paul Graham, Gemma Bain Thomas, Willen Thompson, Basil Hofford, Julia Lawrence, and many others. The statement might have been intended to get Grenadians at home to be talking about these ex-civil servants as a distraction, and not about cell phone gate and those caught in the scandal, especially the NNP's chief political propagandist in the media, former Senator Sheldon Scott. If it was an attempt to shift the goalpost, it did not work and failed badly before it even started. Who really discovered cell phone gate? Prime Minister Mitchell or political activist Kem Jones? If it was Dr. Mitchell, who did, as he told Grenadians in Canada, then did he give it to Kem Jones to embarrass some people, including Sheldon Scott? The all-important question is still in the air. How long has Sheldon Scott's bill been paid by the taxpayers of the country through the government of Grenada after he was removed from the Senate by the Prime Minister? It should be noted that in 3 months alone, the state was illegally paying $70,000 to Digicel for the mobile phone of Mr. Scott. It is quite obvious that the amount of money owed to government by the former senator is significant and could run well over $500,000. An inquiry is needed to determine whether a memo was circulated by the Prime Minister and company within the public service to announce that Sheldon Scott is no longer a member of the Senate and his status had changed. If that was done, then the logical question should be asked: how come Mr. Scott's cell phone bill is still being paid by government after he left the public service as a member of the political directorate? How come Sheldon Scott's name remained on the list even after multiple budget consultations and presentations by Prime Minister Mitchell, who's also the Minister of Finance? Did someone give instructions to have his name remain on the list even after he was removed from the Senate? Cell phone gate will also attract the attention of teachers and public officers who are at loggerheads with the Mitchell-led government on the 25% standoff on pension and gratuity payment. The government has often pointed to problems in finding the required fiscal space to honor such undertakings with its employees. All public officers are right to ask the following questions. How come teachers and civil servants can't be paid their 25% pension and gratuity, but Sheldon Scott's excessive phone bills are being paid? Is the government paying excessively high phone bills of other NNP political activists rather than buying medication for the health facilities on the island? Was Sheldon Scott still being paid traveling allowance and other benefits from state coffers after he was removed from the Senate? There is already some kind of a hint from government that it is not inclined to set up a commission of inquiry to look into cell phone gate. The press secretary in the office of the Prime Minister announced at Tuesday's post-cabinet briefing that the culprits will be asked to pay back the money. The National Democratic Congress should get its 2 opposition senators in the upper house to take steps to get at the phone bills of Sheldon Scott and, in fact, all of the ministers and other members of Parliament for the last 3 years, from the permanent secretaries in both the Ministry of Finance and the Ministry of Works. The New Today is fearful that this is just the tip of the iceberg and that cell phone gate could turn out to be much larger than it is at the moment if the right questions and proper investigation is done. That, Pilgrims, is your editorial, which appeared in Friday's edition of the New Today. Yes, we running behind time. And I see that Mr. Richard Duncan has joined us, Junior George has joined us, John Crow Alexander, Madonna Hofford, Josephine Blanche, a whole lot of people out there on Facebook this morning. John says, re-phone gate. Has anyone heard any response from the ex-senator? I haven't, John. I don't listen to radio. Okay. In the interest of time, let's take a quick break here and we'll come back. See that lady there taking care of her face? That's Paula. And where are the other guys? We'll see the other guys in just a wee bit. But right now, quick break. We'll be right back.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try their sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Mr. Watts, wait. Why are you removing my sign?
Sorry, Larry, but you can't put the sign on an electricity pole. That is an accident waiting to happen.
Mr. Watts, man, I just finished this new house. I need to put up a sign so that people would know that the apartment is for rent. Why can't I put my sign on the pole?
Larry, you should know better. Think about it. Nails, staples, glue, and signs make it difficult for linesmen to quickly and safely climb poles, and it can delay their response time when there is an emergency. These objects can prevent linesmen responding as quickly as they should in an emergency.
You know, I've never thought about those things, but you're absolutely right.
On top of that, Larry, your sign was covering the pole identification number. What if someone needed to report a fault? The pole number tells GRENADA exactly where the problem is and allows them to respond faster.
Whoa, I really didn't consider all these things, you know. Come, let me help you take this down.
Remember, be safe, be smart. No more signs, banners, or posters on electricity poles.
GRENADA, energizing our Grenada.
You don't know how many hurricanes will be coming this season, so you need to be prepared. At Hubbard's Hardware and Building Supply departments and Food Fair supermarkets, everything from canned foods, flashlights and batteries, to plywood, tarpaulin, lanterns, roof repair kits, water tanks, etc. are available. For over 90 years, we've helped you prepare for and recover from storms. Hubbard's Hardware, Food Fair supermarkets, and the Grenadian General Insurance, an integral part of your hurricane preparedness plan.
Alrighty, folks. Okay, yes. 10 o'clock on the button, which means we're running about 15 minutes behind time. Now, take a look. Let's take a look. See, they're getting all dollsed up. Look at that. Somebody's having trouble putting on. Beverly, we're going to have some fun here, folks. We're going to have some fun here. Yeah, I think they're all saddled up now. On the left there is Denzel McMayo. Denzel is a sales agent with Century 21. In the middle, the dwarf in the middle is Beverly Sinclair. Oh, she just stood up. She's still a dwarf even while standing. Yeah, there's Beverly Sinclair, and then
Renwick.
Beverly
Renwick. Yeah, I didn't get married yet. Still single. Just saying.
Beverly Renwick. Sorry, Beverly. And off to the right is Paula, and we have quickly had to make some adjustments to the set here. Let me start with you, Paula. Welcome back. Long time no see. I think the last time I saw you was around Christmas time. You had something going?
Yes, in December, I came on the show and we talk about the environment and sustainability, and just the Christmas message I had sent out at that time.
That's right.
Correct?
That's right.
And I promised you that I'll be back again. I was hoping that I would have been back before now, but with our jobs and time, sometimes it's impossible. This year we were a bit busy. I had Century 21 Global Conference going on and had a lot of training at that conference, and we won an award there also. So it's been a busy 6 months, but I'm so happy to be back on the show this morning, and I want to say good morning to all the listeners listening on George Grant's show, and to my colleagues here who I'm
George Grant.
George Grant. Yeah? Listen, pure Grenada here, okay? Yes, so I'm happy to be on the show and looking forward to a great conversation.
All right, and Beverly, good to see you again. You've been here. Look at that smile.
It's a beautiful day. It's Sunday morning in Grenada. Sun is shining. The sea is blue. What more could you ask
You going to the
for?
beach?
I will be later for sure.
Yeah?
Yep,
Yeah.
it's a Sunday, definite, yeah.
I could imagine there are a lot of people down there this morning. It's just really, really beautiful out there. And then off to your right, Beverly, is Mr. McMayo. How are you, sir? You've been with us before, haven't you?
No, I haven't been
You
here
haven't been
before.
here?
It was Devon.
It was Devon.
It was Devon the last
Yeah.
time. Okay. All right.
Mr. McMayo is new to our team.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, I've been with Century for almost a year.
Okay.
Over 12 months, yeah.
All right. Liking it?
Yeah, I'm enjoying it. That is what I like to do.
Okay. Well, Paula, let me start with you, ma'am, because I understand we have a lot to talk about this morning in the next half hour or so. But first of all, I understand that you guys are celebrating your 5th anniversary.
Yeah, can't believe it. It's been a real, 5 years, it's surreal to me because we started Century 21 in 2014, and the time just went by quickly. So I'm happy to be celebrating 5 years in business. We've achieved a lot during that time, and we've had great support from the local and international customers. And I want to thank everyone who have chosen Century 21 and trust us with doing their business in the last 5 years. We continue to grow as a team. We continue to strive to provide the best real estate service ever. We trying our best every year to find ways to be innovative, creative, and to provide the market with precise and knowledgeable information so they can make informed decision when purchasing a property or investing, whatever the purpose is. So we're making strides, and I'm very proud of my team who've worked very hard to get us here today. And as you know, we're here today to talk about what's going on in the real estate market, what's happening with Century 21. We've grown as a team in the last 5 years from 3 of us now to 11. And we're making strides in the market. And I think everyone has would say so far that we've worked hard, and we've worked hard to be reputable and honest, and to show people that we care about the environment as well and about the community we live in.
Very competitive business, and you guys have gotten this far. I understand that you really pride yourself in the, quote, extraordinary services at Century 21.
Yes.
Talk a bit about some of those extraordinary services.
Well, I would speak a little, but Bev can also share a lot of that. Just for the company, just the vision is to provide the best real estate service ever. And in providing that service, there are some extraordinary things that we do for our client, we go the extra mile, because in purchasing real estate is one of the biggest purchase anyone would make in their lifetime. And knowing the ins and out of it and having a reputable and knowledgeable and experienced agency guide you through the process, it's priceless. So I would have Beverly share some of that with you.
Yeah, I think, where our customers are concerned, they are number one. And we always try to go the extra mile to ensure that we satisfy their needs. We listen to what they're looking for. We try to match them accordingly with the inventory that we have. We communicate, I think, is one of the things, really. We communicate constantly. We have a policy that if we receive an email, that we would try to respond within a 24 to 48 hour period. And we really do try to stick to that as much as possible. And so I think a lot of our customer base appreciate that they can get a quick answer, they can get action quickly. We really do. We definitely go the extra mile. We pick up our customers, we take them out north, south, east, and west of Grenada. It doesn't matter what spending power a customer has. We have a full range of product available, both built properties, commercial, land, big lots, small lots, you name it. We can fit your budget. And we look forward to getting new listings all the time. Anyone that has anything they're thinking they might want to sell, please feel free to list with us. It's free until the sale.
I was just going to ask
Yes.
you, is there a cost to list with you guys?
No, there's no charge at all. We would begin the process, get all the details, do all the photography, get it up on our website. The only time the customer pays, believe it or not, is when we get them a buyer and when the sale goes to completion of sale.
Okay.
So so there's nothing to lose really from listing with us. We do our best to try to move the product as quickly as we can. We have a database already of clients that we know are looking for certain things, so that we can match accordingly as soon as we get a new listing. And we pride ourselves also with the new listings, getting them up on our website very, very quickly, within a day or two. Most might be a week, but we try to get it up as quickly as possible, because we recognize that the website is one of the main tools that people use to see what's available in Grenada, both locally and internationally. And we've gotten a lot of compliments on our website, so we're proud of that. We keep it up to date, very up to date.
I will endorse that. You guys do have a really nice website, and I think you should be very proud of it.
One of the things, though, I wanted to mention is that we do a lot of promotional events as a way of going the extra mile for our clients, so they can get the property out there just than sitting in the office and depending on our website to give us leads. So we go on the ground, we speak to clients, we go do presentation of people offices if we have to present the properties. We also go the extra mile by making sure that when we list the property, we get all the information. We help the client speak to the loan officers at the bank, liaise with the lawyers. So we really hold their hands through the process, so that they could feel, well, okay, I'm not in this alone, because it could be very daunting, especially for a first-time purchaser. And a lot of the times, situations or challenges come up during the sale that may have them think something is wrong here, I can't go through with this transaction anymore. Then we're there to say, okay, we can help solve the issue. Don't worry, we're here. We care about what we're doing. We want to make sure that at the end, everything goes well with the purchase, as well as listing a property. A lot of people don't know that what the market is like. They don't understand the ins and outs of listing a property and understand pricing their property. And thinking, okay, I can get $10 when maybe they can get 15, or they're asking 10, but maybe only 7 they can get. So at the end of the day, we know the market, we understand the market, and we care about our clients, and we really believe that it's more than a transaction, it's an experience, right? And we want to help them through the process, and no matter how big or small it is, we are there.
And that's good, because look, a lot of people in a rush to get their property, so may make some mistakes. They don't know that they don't know.
Yes.
How to do it.
That's a good way to put it.
And that's where the hand-holding comes in.
Mm-hmm.
What are some of the big mistakes that buyers or sellers make?
I could go on the buyer's side, and Beverly, you do the sellers, but a lot of the times with the buyers is not doing due diligence properly. So, for instance, if you go to purchase a piece of land, ensuring that you have a resurvey done, it may cost you $800, but it could be $800 that save you thousands of dollars in the long run. So most people say to me, well, why I have to pay to resurvey the land? Well, I say to them is to confirm the size of the land and to confirm that you're actually buying what the owner is selling, because there are owners who have shown me as a realtor the wrong lot, right? Because they haven't been on the property for so many years, and if the development don't have many houses, they just say they think it's there, right? I mean, the ownership is also on the sellers to make sure that they show us the boundary markers, but it is always important that, so that's one of the errors buyers could make. Buyers could also make error of offering too high on a property, not understanding the market. So as agents, we guide them.
Do you ever have such a situation where a buyer offers too much?
Yes. Because they're excited, they love the property, they let everything goes, their emotion goes to their head, and and I have to say to them, okay, let's stop here, let's think through this properly as the professional, make sure and get a valuation done. If you're going to a financial institution, you want to make sure whatever offer you give the owner, that the valuation comes within that offer, and you'll get your mortgage. So that also happens. If you're buying a building, ensuring that you have a contractor and an engineer check and make sure the soundness of the building. So making sure that you're not buying a building that is filled with dangerous cracks or, moving in some ways, or you may notice that the plumbing. So you make sure and have all of these things checked before you go and sign on the dotted line. And then getting a lawyer is very important in a transaction, because not all deeds are good deeds. Sometimes you realize as you start the process, if it was a deed of gift, the will was not probated properly, that it's a statutory declaration which has not been turned into a deed, and it's not acceptable by the financial institution. So there are a lot of little things that people need to take note of and be aware of. So as agents, we know what they are, and we make sure that from the beginning we set the expectations, we let them know what to expect in terms of and what to do, and we help them through the process. So yes.
Let's hear you.
So from the seller side, I think some of the challenges we've had is that at the beginning of a listing, we ask for documents. We ask for the title deed, we ask for the property tax receipt, etc. And a lot of times they would be hesitant to give it to us. They think it's their private information, which it is. However, it helps to have all our documents in order on file, so that when we do get to the point of sale, it's an easy, smooth transaction, versus at that point, the seller might be hustling to try to find their documents, and lo and behold, they're lost. And then that causes a whole nother element, a whole nother delay, because the lawyers would then have to do work with the lost title deed, etc., etc. And sometimes that can actually foil a sale. So the reason we ask for documents up front is just to be organized, have all our ducks in a row, so that we can make the sale transaction happen smoothly, The other thing I think we find challenging with sellers sometimes is that they want a too high price for their property. So we encourage them to get a valuation done. They're not forced to have to sell their property at the rate that the valuation came in at, but at least it would give them an idea. Because sometimes I think people have an overinflated idea as to what the property is actually worth, So that sometimes can be a challenge for us. We always say, well, look, we'll give it a try. Obviously, we'll do our best for you as a seller. The more we can get for everybody, the better. However, if after 3 months, 6 months, nothing's happening, no inquiries, no physical viewings, we review it and we try again to guide the sellers accordingly, with a valuation, and try to be a little bit more realistic. If they're motivated, then they would come down. If they can afford to hang around a bit, fine. But it all depends on the market and what someone is willing to pay at the end of the day, Another challenge we have with sellers, I would say, is staging of a property. We try to guide them in terms of presenting the property nicely for when we bring customers to see it. That's a challenge. But it makes a huge difference, a huge difference if somewhere is neat and tidy and the windows are open and the place is clean. Huge difference, so but some sellers don't quite see the importance of that, but for us as agents it is.
They
so
just want you to get the damn house off their hands.
pretty much. But I can tell you that 99.9% of the time the properties that are well presented are the ones that will go quicker, you know. So more or less that's it. One of the things also perhaps might be challenging would be signage. Sometimes the sellers don't really want a for sale sign on their property, but it actually helps a lot because when visitors are in the island and maybe on a Sunday they're taking a little tour, they see a for sale sign on a property, they're like, oh, they might know someone that's interested in in that area or so. We are restricted in some areas, like with covenants, that we're not allowed to put up signs. But in the areas that don't have covenants, it would be great for us to put up a sign, but sometimes sellers don't want that. So we respect their wishes.
Since you have returning Grenadians listening, one of the things that I wanted to bring to their attention is when they're looking for property in Grenada, or if, for instance, they're planning on coming for Carnival and they're thinking, oh, I'm going to go look at properties, they need to understand that most of the time that agents don't have keys for the properties. So we can't just jump in our cars and bring them when they turn up at our office or give us a call because we don't have the lockbox system in Grenada. All owners are prefer to open up their homes, or if they have tenants, then we have to give the tenants 24 to 48 hours notice. And if the owner is living there, they ask for at least 24 hours notice. So we just can't turn up at the property, and a lot of people get frustrated with that. And secondly, if they're really serious about getting financing in Grenada, they need to speak to a bank first, or some financial institution before they come to Grenada, find out what is really needed if they need to get finance here, because getting finance here is a little bit challenging for returning Grenadians, and they need to understand what it would require before they pick up the phone and call an agency and say, okay, I need to go see property, and then find out that they really can't get the financing here based on the requirements needed. Even a local buyer, we encourage them to do that also, to know what they're qualified for in the bank and estimation. So when they come to look at properties with us, they look at properties they can afford and what the bank would provide a loan for. So these are some little tips that I think are very important when it's coming to purchasing property.
Let me bring Mr.
Denzel.
Mr. Denzel in here. Denzel, we heard some of the mistakes that both buyers and sellers make. As a new sales agent, you're seeing a lot of that out there?
Yes, I'm seeing a lot of that out there. I just want to, before I answer the question, to go back to something Paula and Bev were saying. Sometimes you find that the property price is overpriced, right? Most time, you can negotiate 20% downwards. So if your property is valued for, let's say, or the price point is 500,000, you can, in the sales negotiation, I think it allows for 20% negotiation downwards. So
well, yes, depend on the owner and the leg room. But we say if you see a price and you find it's too high, still put in an offer.
Put in an offer.
As long as it's not a ridiculous offer, but still put in an offer, because you never know. So if you're on the website and you see something for $500,000, but your budget is $450,000, don't pass it by. Still inquire about it, because you never know. Some owners, they may have the price like that, but they would go down by up to 20%. Some is 10, some is 15. So it just depends. So try. I mean, if you have 200,000, which is really low, I wouldn't suggest you do that. But I would suggest, as long as it's $100,000, $50,000 less than what the owner is asking, still inquire about it.
Okay. You hear talk about a buyer's market and the seller's market. What would you say to somebody who, so I got a house to sell.
Yeah.
What should I be taking into consideration there?
Well, location. Yes. So from our market report, I know you have it on your website, but if you would notice, 71% of the transactions are being taken place in St. George's right now.
71%.
71%. So what that means in St. George's, it's turning into now a seller's market, because where there's huge demand, then you find that the sellers now starting to have more power. So, however, we're not seeing it as yet, but certain locations in St. George is experiencing a seller's market right now. So you have the South, as you know, hot ticket. The South is experiencing a seller's market at the moment. So if, for instance, True Blue, Lansopine, Kelly's, Grandad's Main Road, up to, you know, as far as Silver Sands area up there. If you have a property, you know, right location there, you can, as an owner, you know, you can ask whatever you want, especially certain areas in True Blue now. People are paying ridiculous prices because they want to be in True Blue because of the students market. So I would say in Grenada, it's not an overall buyers or sellers market. It just depends on the location in which you want to buy, because we still have a lot of inventory on the market in a lot of areas. So if you're looking for a land in Fort Judy, Westerhall Point, St. Paul's, all these areas, they still remain reasonable and negotiable. So, and people are dropping their prices there. We've had a lot of reduced prices in those areas. If you're looking to go to St. David's, for instance, I would say to you, St. David's now is the next place to go. If you're looking for future investment, future development, first-time buyers, investors, commercial, St. David's is the way to go.
You talk about St. David's, and a couple of weeks ago, I took a ride out to Bacalet. I was just fascinated with the landscape out there. I mean, you ain't going to go swimming in that water because it's kind of rough. Okay?
Yes.
But man, there's some beautiful, beautiful land out there.
Of course, the East Coast is beautiful. I live on the East Coast, and I'm a St. David's girl. You know, I'm born and raised in St. David's as well as Denzel.
Paula, when you were here, I hate to interrupt you, but when you were here in August, one of the reasons why I asked you to come, not in August,
December.
One of the reasons I had asked you to come in was because you had expressed ecstasy about the way that the real estate market in this country had been going. But in your Christmas greeting, you also cautioned about development. You were just talking about True Blue. Paula, that place has become an absolute mess. And don't tell me about how much money it's bringing into the country. That place has become a jungle.
And yeah, I sigh because in my report I also talked about the SGU market and you know, where it's going and what's next with it. And I think it's important that we look at the environment in that area holistically as a people, and we could only start with us, George, because I say to people, to make changes, it starts from us, and then it can graduate. A lot of us depends on the government, and we know the bureaucracy, we know. So sometimes we have to come together as groups, as people living in True Blue, the people who have investment in True Blue. They have to protect their investments, and their eyes are open. So to me, it's coming together, speaking to SGU, and coming a way to fix that environment. I think we lean too much on what the external forces could do when we have the power to do it. So I think the little things, I see the roads need fixing. I know that Nawasa was redoing the sewer. I think there are some zoning issues that needs to be dealt with there, and making sure the place looks nice. When you're driving, you feel like you're somewhere. Right now, I don't know how the students' parents, when they drive in there for the first time, what they think about Grenada. You know, for such, you know, that's where their kids are going to school, and with everything happening. But I think True Blue is going through a transition as we speak right now, but I am urging all the landlords, owners, everybody who has property in that area to really look at the environment and see how they can help with fixing it, beautifying it, making it look presentable, because this is our country, and this, if you invest in that area, you have to take pride.
It's just all happening in a very haphazard way, and that concerns me. Now, here's a comment that's coming in from Clive Devers. He says he's now in Charleston, South Carolina, on his way from Seattle to Washington. He says he's asking this question: can the offer of sale can the offer specify that the property offer is not applicable to foreign buyers, or more specifically, only applicable to Grenadians?
No.
Would this meet human rights regulations? In BC, Canada, British Columbia, contracts still state sales to Chinese or Negroes are not allowed.
Oh wow! No, we don't
Wow.
have that
That
here.
will be
We don't have that
discriminatory.
here.
Yes.
Yeah, that will be discriminatory.
We don't have that here.
Yeah, I
That
mean,
is-
yes, we have problems, and one of the deterrents in terms of for the foreign buyers, we look at the sales tax and the alien landholder license. And going back to what Paula was talking about, True Blue, I think that True Blue, the whole development of True Blue is evolutionary, and there is no planned development in True Blue per se. And there's a need for commercial business, a commercial complex or something in True Blue. So
I think maybe we can learn from as the development starts to go out now onto the eastern side into St. David's, really put some serious zoning in place.
So I
because
think
maybe it is the zoning that has caused.
Yeah, I think zoning is a big issue, as you say, and zoning would help sustainability development. And I think also owners being aware of building now with green in mind, so having solar on their roofs, the type of materials that are used to build. So I think part of it has to be guided by the authorities at B, because without guiding people, they still would just do what they want, right? But I think as a people, we need to be conscious, because this is Grenada, this is ours. And we have to take responsibility as individuals and say, okay, I love my country. This is what I have the power to do. I'm not saying that we don't have to be guided. If we have zoning and certain regulations in place and be guided by them, we will do it.
And make sure they're
And make
enforced.
sure they
They're
enforce, because
enforced,
Grenada have an
that's-
enforcement problem.
Yeah.
We have laws and it's not enforced.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So this is another issue we're having. And for me, it's like, when you go, there are so many laws that's there, and you're thinking it's not there, but when you check, it's there, but it's just not being enforced. So I do think we have to protect our environment.
You know, years ago I worked on the Rum Runner, and one of the things they still do, they take cruise ship passengers along Grand Anse Beach. And I remember hearing comments from a lot of cruise ship passengers. A lot of these people have come through here numerous times, okay? They keep coming through Grenada. And as you go along Grand Anse Beach, so many of these people felt dejected because of the development they have seen over the years. Years ago, when they first came here, Grand Anse Beach was a pristine, beautiful beach, so natural. And now they're describing it as a concrete jungle. You know, there's a lot going on the beach. I'm not saying no to development.
Yes, I was
but
just
we're
going to say that. You
we're
have
just
to.
doing things in a very haphazard, haphazard way.
No, I agree. I agree. We
That
need
just don't fit. You see high rise going up in this place nowadays? Keep an eye on that. It's only a matter of time before. Actually, it started to filter into town. We have some high rise buildings in town.
Wow.
Not extremely high, but we're getting there. Ladies, look, and gentlemen, we're running out of time fast. I have a whole ton of stuff here to go this morning, but I just want to ask this question. I want you to. I know that you guys are very aggressively marketing. Okay? And I think that's the word I wanted. I specifically chose that word, aggressively. You guys, pretty good.
Is that a good aggressive?
No, it's a good aggressive. We know we're known for that in the market.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about some of the activities you've got coming up very quickly.
Okay, sure. Right, so we are doing our usual annual meet and greet at the airport, and this goes on for a period of 2 weeks just prior to Carnival. This is where we set up our Century 21 tent just outside Customs. We welcome everybody coming home for the Carnival season with drinks. This year we have a new edition of Spin the Wheel. So when you're coming in off your flights, look for the Century 21 tent, and you can spin the wheel and win a prize. And basically, we are just saying, you know, welcome home to everybody. We are also sponsoring the IFE reunion. So all of you guys out there that might be coming home for the IFE reunion, we're very excited to meet you and welcome you back home. And if we can help you in any way with what you're looking for or wanting to sell, you know, we're here to provide that service.
And if you're not looking to buy now, but thinking about in the next 5 years, just start a conversation now with us. So you have an insight of the market, know where the market is going, so you can, when time comes, you can make an informed decision. We're here to guide everyone through the process. My team are very excited about the airport tent, so we're looking forward to just greeting you and having a good time when you come in.
And,
all right.
And now is the time to buy because of the congestion that is taking place in Chublu and the south. So I advise.
I'll tell you one really good thing, Paula. You know, I was really, really excited and honored to hear the way you stood up about protecting the environment some time ago. And it's good to hear a real estate agent come out and voice that. I would love to hear more real estate agents come out and speak that.
Well, we have a National Realtors Association, which I am now working on trying to get us back together so we can be a collective voice instead of one company. I mean, as a company, we have an obligation or responsibility, I would say. But I think as an industry, we also have the responsibility because what we're selling is our environment.
Okay.
What you're selling is your environment. When someone go to see a house, what they think, the amenities, the features, and how the area looks. So we're selling our neighborhoods, our communities, so we have to take care of them.
There's somebody listening to you in the Azores right now, Sean. Sean says development is very close to the word destruction.
Oh, Lord. Oh, dear.
Oh, Sean.
Let's be positive.
And by the way, here's a very, very interesting comment. A little while ago, I read you a comment from Clive Devers talking about Canada. Well, there's somebody in Quebec who has just posted something here. She's asked Penny Crawley. Penny says, where is Mr. Devers getting his information regarding property sales in BC? He is so wrong.
Oh. Well, that's good to hear.
Okay.
We don't have the time to debate
Yes.
that, but I want to thank you, Paula. I want to thank you, Beverly. I also want to thank you, Denzel. Good to meet you.
Thank you.
Tag along with these two ladies.
And if anyone looking for a copy of the real estate market report, which is the only report that gives the insights, it's on George Grant's website. Just go click on it, download it, and if you have any questions, feel free to send us an email.
Paula, it's on the Grenada Broadcast website, not George Grant website. People are going to go looking GeorgeGrant.com.
That's why you're there, so you can give them the correct information.
Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you for
enjoyed
having
having you here. Folks, we're running behind time this morning. Big time.
Yes, thank you so much.
Let me take a little break and we'll come on back. Right after this. Hang on there.
Mr. Watts, wait. Why are you removing my sign?
Sorry, Larry, but you can't put the sign on an electricity pole. That is an accident waiting to happen.
Mr. Watts, man, I just finished this new house. I need to put up a sign so that people would know that the apartment is for rent. Why can't I put my sign on the pole?
Larry, you should know better. Think about it. Nails, staples, glue, and signs make it difficult for linesmen to quickly and safely climb poles, and it can delay their response time when there is an emergency. These objects can prevent linesmen responding as quickly as they should in an emergency.
You know, I've never thought about those things. But you're absolutely right.
On top of that, Larry, your sign was covering the pole identification number. What if someone needed to report a fault? The pole number tells GRENADA exactly where the problem is and allows them to respond faster.
Whoa, I really didn't consider all these things, you know. Come, let me help you take this down.
Remember, be safe, be smart. No more signs, banners, or posters on electricity poles.
GRENADA, energizing our Grenada.
Studying too hard about back-to-school expenses? Co-op Bank is making back to school as easy as 1, 2, 3. Enjoy competitive interest rates, affordable monthly payments, speedy decisions on applications. Come in and apply today.
Well,
You don't know how many hurricanes will be coming this season, so you need to be prepared. At Hubbard's Hardware and Building Supply departments and Food Fair supermarkets, everything from canned foods, flashlights and batteries, to plywood, tarpaulin, lanterns, roof repair kits, water tanks, etc. are available. For over 90 years, we've helped you prepare for and recover from storms. Hubbard's Hardware, Food Fair supermarkets, and the Grenadian General Insurance, an integral part of your hurricane preparedness plan.
Malcolm X is known the one over as a civil rights leader, black nationalist.
The Institute for People's Enlightenment, in collaboration with the UWI Open Campus Grenada, presents the 2019 Commemorative Emancipation Lecture at Norton's Hall, Trade Street, St. George's, on Monday, July 29 at 5:30 p.m. The topic, The Making of Grenada and the Grenada Diaspora, the journey of Louise Langdon Norton Little, mother of Malcolm X, from Ladue, Grenada to Montreal, Canada and to the USA. Presented by Grenadian-born Dr. Merle Collins, Professor of English, University of Maryland, USA.
For more information, email ipeemancipationlectures@gmail.com or call K. Julian Gutu at 459-8967 or Simon Green at 459-1582.
She come from Land, Louis Langdon Little, must be remembered too.
Folks, I gotta tell you, if you haven't figured this out yet, you know, the stuff we put out here on GRENADABROADCAST.com, it's always worth listening to. At least I like to believe that. Stuff that you should really listen carefully to, including the stuff that you were just listening to a few minutes ago when my previous guests were here. But the piece that you are now about to watch and hear, I think you really need to pay very, very close attention to. It's a segment from Monday's edition of Good Day Grenada, when some great news was broken to us, the people of Grenada, by an attorney at law, one of my former classmates, presentation brothers, Mr. Jimmy Bristol. Friends, watch and listen carefully, and then go, okay? This segment is captioned, Government of Grenada is about to learn a lesson. Courts have ruled in favor of numerous Grenadians who have taken the government to task. However, many of them are yet to see a black cent from these judgments. That's about to change, thanks to this gentleman you're looking at over here. Jimmy, I want you to start by taking me by the hand. Explain to me what you did and why you did it. Oh, by the way, you can still say good morning to them.
Thanks, George. Well, I've always observed that what you've just said, that beneficiaries of money judgments against the government of Grenada over as many years I've been practicing them before have never been honored. And the government almost tells you to get lost when they owe you money, and when they owe you money pursuant to a judgment of the court. And I've been trying to see if I could find a way around that, because I think it's wrong that the government can act with impunity, disregard judgments of the court, and then people suffer because someone's property may have been taken, for example. It may be a motor vehicle accident, it may be a debt, maybe a loan the government took, and the bank or the lending institution or the lender sues, gets a judgment and can't get their money. And the governments were just laughing at the people. And an opportunity came up to challenge it. And actually, I took a long-term view of this because the proceedings actually began when I sued several police officers and the Attorney General for unconstitutional or unlawful search and seizure. And I won the case and got substantial damages for the individuals whom I represented. So that in itself was a victory. But as usual, the government refused to pay. So they violated somebody's rights. Those rights were vindicated in a court. And then the government refused to pay. So I took proceedings under the Crown Proceedings Act to get the Permanent Secretary of Finance to comply with the provisions of the Act to have the money paid. But that doesn't bear fruit because I'll explain in a minute. I also joined the commercial banks in Grenada because I didn't know where government had its money. And I froze a bank account of one of the banks belonging to the government. And then the government got that release. But within the proceedings for freezing the government's bank account, I'd raised the issue of the bar, the prohibition that the law, and I'll get into that, against enforcing money judgments against the government. The government put a lot of roadblocks in our way, which we successfully challenged in the Court of Appeal, who directed that the matter be heard on the constitutionality of the government's so-called protection from enforcement of money judgments. I'm putting this in layperson's terms for the moment. So in other words, a summary of it is, government, you cannot, if George Grant gets a judgment against Jimmy Bristol for $1,000, you can go to the court. If I have land, they can sell my land. If I have a car, the court can seize it. If I have a TV, they can come into my property and take my chattels, my goods, to enforce the judgment. But the government, you cannot do that, all right, because of a law. So, it was a constitutional motion. We took a constitutional point that the law which affords or appears to afford the government immunity from prosecution or immunity from satisfaction of its monetary obligations pursuant to a judgment of the High Court is unconstitutional. Let's deal with the law. The law is the Crown Proceedings Act. Now, the Crown Proceedings Act came in about 1947, not just in Grenada, but throughout the Commonwealth, all around the same time. Canada, Australia, New Zealand, India, South Africa, etc. The entire British Caribbean territories. And that law regulated the rights of people to sue the government, how you sue, what's the procedure, and how you recover your judgments. But what it did, the Crown Proceedings Act, it said when you get a judgment, you have to approach the Permanent Secretary, who will issue an order for payment, in effect. But that is never effective, because if the Permanent Secretary doesn't control the money, he's right. And as I had that in a case here for another client around the same time as this case, where I brought the Permanent Secretary before court to compel him to pay the money, but of course he doesn't control the money.
Right.
He's just the person in the office. So so the remedy in the Crown Proceedings Act to go after the Permanent Secretary doesn't guarantee you any money. This is the law, the Crown Proceedings Act, Section 21, subsection 4. Save as aforesaid, save as going against the Permanent Secretary to get him to pay. No execution or attachment or process in the nature thereof shall be issued out of any court for the enforcing payment by the Crown of any money judgment. Okay? Execution, attachment, or process. No court can use its powers to execute, attach, or use any other process to enforce an order for money judgment against the government. That means, execution means the process by which the judgment is enforced. For example, George Grant, Jimmy Bristol, the court can give you an order for sale of land if you have land. They can give you an order to, the court will seize your property, your car, your TV, etc. Not against the government. Now, what that means is that your judgment is worthless. And that's why the government could laugh at all of us, successive governments over the years, not just in Grenada, but throughout the Caribbean, because we know what governments in the Caribbean generally are like. So, I challenged this provision on the basis that Section 8.8 of the Constitution says we are entitled to a fair hearing before an impartial tribunal. And if you're having a fair hearing, you must also have the fruits of that fair hearing, which is the enforcement of the judgment. And the High Court of Grenada last week, Friday, on the 12th of June, agreed with our submissions. I didn't present the case because I'm not well enough to go to court, but my junior, Mrs. Melissa Modest Singh, did a brilliant job, and she presented the case. And the judge agreed with the submissions. And in summary, before I go into what he said, the effect of the judgment is that the protection afforded by Section 21(4) of the Crown Proceedings Act, which protects the government and grants the government immunity from seizure and sale of its assets to satisfy a money judgment, is unconstitutional, null and void, as it infringes your fair trial rights. When you get a judgment of the court, you're supposed to be able to have an effective remedy by way of enforcement. And the court struck it down, citing several cases, Privy Council in the case of Gary, which cited cases from Canada, India, and elsewhere, and a case from the Supreme Court of South Africa, which had the same act as we do, and which struck that identical provision down on the same basis. And so, as it stands, the government must, the government is no longer protected from execution. It's no longer protected from its property being seized in order to satisfy a money judgment. So there are lots of nice vehicles you can probably end up driving or selling. Land, buildings, you know. The implications of this judgment are far-reaching and this judgment puts a lot of power in the hands of the people. Because for once, the people of Grenada can say, enough is enough. I am going to get you for this. And that is what's really important. Because governments have taken advantage for too long over the people, have acted above the law, continue in many aspects of society to act above the law. But in this one, it's finished.
Well,
no, just want to say, it is of course subject to appeal.
I was just going to raise that.
And I expect the Crown to appeal. Of course, it's such a serious point, and I'm see this going all the way to the Privy Council as well, because certainly if we lose before the Court of Appeal, we'll take it to the Privy Council. And I'm sure if the government loses, they will also take it to the Privy Council, because you really need a final decision on this. But I'm confident that we'll succeed all the way up there.
Couple of comments here. Somebody named John Bruno says, "Thanks, Jimmy. I've been waiting for over 20 years." I bet you know a lot of people like that, eh?
Yeah, many, many people. I've seen people cry in my chambers. I've seen people with such a look of despondency and they're just at their wits' end, and they feel that the very rug has been pulled out from under their feet, and you feel you hurt for them, and finally they can be vindicated. You know what these governments don't realize, George. What they don't realize is only so far that you can run. You know, I had to run down police and the Attorney General for bad behavior and illegal behavior to get to this point on this constitutional matter. Yeah? So you can play around, you can do all the naughty things you want to do, but you can only do it for so long.
It's going to catch up with you.
It's going to catch up, and a lot of things are going to catch up because there are a lot of things going to happen now. Because we got a lot of cases in the court on constitutional matters going on right now.
Well, you know, something I want you to talk about. I don't want to keep you here for the whole morning, but I'm going to ask you in a little while about the impact this is going to have on government and whether or not it's going to make them more accountable. But before that, Margaret in New York says, "Whoa! Fantastic ruling for the people of Grenada. Great work, Jimmy." Say hi, Margaret.
Hi, Margaret. I've never done this Facebook thing before, so it's all new. I'm not even seeing myself. I just got a camera pointing at me.
Margaret, this man doesn't even have Facebook. He told me this morning he hasn't got Twitter or Ditter. Have you ever heard of Ditter? Gives you an idea how...
No social media.
How social savvy he is not. Okay, let me ask you this, Jimmy. Do you think this is going to have an impact, you know, in making government more accountable? Because
but it's got to, because they know they're going to... When people start taking their property, when I froze their bank account, all right, they got away on a technicality, and the client told me, "Don't bother, go take it any further." But I could have continued the freeze. All up to how many million was I froze their bank account. You think they're going to like that when I freeze their bank account? No. I can still freeze a bank account without this judgment, because that's a different matter. But if I start, the bailiff goes down to the ministerial complex at the Botanical Gardens and picks up a few of those lovely vehicles belonging to the government. You think they're going to like that? You know what I mean?
John says, government said they had a pool of money to pay. What became of that? You know, I think just a few months ago they supposedly started paying out the people they'd owed as a result of court judgments.
Well, that's a good thing if they are doing that. But the point is, government would have to think twice when they're embarking upon any course of action which may result in a money judgment. Because the more money judgments you have, the more depleted the state's coffers are going to become. So while you may have some money now to pay what you ought to have paid before now, going forward, the government, I'm more likely than not, will have to temper its actions and think twice about what they're doing, because they can't get away with it anymore. Imagine you're going to bit of land, a nice bit of land, wherever they got a nice bit of land, you know, you just get a nice acre or two. I'd love that. And then the government will have no land.
All right, Jimmy, listen, obviously you put your neck on the line to get this done. I'm sure it's taken a long time. And what this has proven is that action can, in fact, be taken against the government. There are a lot of people who, you know, the government runs all over them, and they don't act.
Well, you know, George, the person in whose name this suit was brought didn't act. I was helping. It's a pro bono. Okay? This all started with pro bono. And
you're kidding.
Yeah, it's all pro bono. The entire process. The case was filed in 2010. That from which this thing emanated. That's 9 years ago. All pro bono. A lot of people, one, do not know of their rights. Two, do not know how to have those rights vindicated.
Thank you.
So it's recognizing that you have been wronged and knowing what to do about it. right? Also, a lot of people are scared to go to a lawyer because of fees, you know? But if you have, to me, against the government, you got to, we lawyers should really bend over backwards. I know lots of us do, but to give people the confidence that they can come and we will really try and help them, because a lot of these things are cases of abuse, oppression, you know, advantage, failing to recognize and uphold people's rights. And this is serious. We have to take action to stop this state acting like some of these rogue countries in the world. You know, and we know the ones we're talking about, the North Koreans. We want to be like that. We want to be like Zimbabwe. What do we want?
Thanks, Jimmy. In part, you've answered my next question, because I was going to ask you, why isn't more and more of this happening? Like I said, I know you put your neck on the line for this, but you're not the only lawyer in town, and I would really love to see a few more lawyers, you know, kick butt like you're doing.
Yeah, but I had a few. I mean, a few lawyers have done some serious cases. The case with the Cabinet Secretary, Rohan Philip, it was a brilliant case.
Yeah,
it was a brilliant case. We've got the pension cases coming up. We filed those on the constitutionality, but finally, and quite a few of those. They've got the teachers' deduction of salary for the strikes last year, I think. Those are before the court, constitutional again. So there are few, you know, there are few irons in the fire. And we're going to continue. We're going to continue standing up for the rights of the people.
Thanks a lot, Jimmy. It's paying off, and I'm sure that what has been heard here this morning has been music to the ears of a lot of people. And hopefully it's the start of the end of the rogue attitude that we've been experiencing here in this country.
It is indeed. And there are lots of other areas where I didn't mention, where we got actions going, but we have to take a stand, because otherwise we're going to find ourselves in anarchy. I mean, the law and order...
We're pretty damn close to that.
We're very close. There's very little law and order in Grenada right now. It's all about favoritism. And, you know, I watched the film Long Road to Freedom last night, Nelson Mandela, about his biography. And I realized that we have apartheid in Grenada. And the apartheid here is not based on the color of your skin, but it's based on the color of your character. And if your color of character is righteousness and right thinking and right behavior, you're ostracized. And what is shameful is that when a man like Mandela stood up in all dignity and refused to take revenge after what he had been through on the people who oppressed him and his people, that we are being oppressed by our people, when not one of them ever went to jail and was oppressed by us. It's shameful. And we are living in a period of apartheid based on your character. And it's time for us to take a stand and tell those people who run in the show, we're not going to lie down. I'm not going to lie down. And they know that. I could smile, and I want them to watch this program. I'm not going to lie down, and ain't nothing you can do to me. I'm going to stand up to it.
I join you, Mr. Bristol. I join you. Arthur Langine says, good morning, sir. I'm very proud of you and the efforts you're making on behalf of my people in Grenada. Thank you, says Mr. Arthur Langine. I think he's in New York.
All right, Arthur. Nice. Thanks for your support. That's what we're here for. You know, you got to have a purpose in life, and God puts you in a particular position. You got to use your talents to help others. And that's what it's about.
Another New Yorker, Kipling Francis, says, I won't be myself if I do not join in saying thanks, Mr. Jimmy. May God be your guide. And I join Kipling because I think a lot of us wish the same for you.
Thank you.
Yeah. And I know that you're a believer, and I want our viewers to recognize that Jimmy and I hold very steadfastly to the Word of God. Are we perfect?
Far from it.
But we know the God whom so many people out there deny and doubt. Thanks a lot, Jimbo. Good to see you, boy. And listen, when last were you here? 10, 15, 20 years ago?
Well, I haven't been too well, so
Yeah.
I'm just getting back into the office and moving around a bit now. So
You keep mashing up yourself, man. What?
yeah, I hurt my back and I had an operation, so I
Yeah.
couldn't move. But you're gonna see me a bit more. I'm sure we'll have a lot more discussion coming up about this matter.
I would really appreciate that. And Maureen Batiste, I don't know who Maureen is, but she says, God bless you, sir. Lawrence Kruthoff says, hi, Jimmy. Thank you for a job well done. Thanks. We see the appreciation. There are a lot of Grenadians in this country who think differently than we
There are, you know, I think the government is fooling itself. The government really believes that it's got massive support out there. George, every day, people who are big supporters of the government telling me they don't like what's happening in the country, this, that. We help, they put them there, and look at how they behave, and this and that, and look what's happening, and no rules. Tons. There's a major undercurrent, and that is where change comes. Change comes from undercurrent, and it's going to happen. But a lot of people are scared because of losing their job, they're not going to get a contract, you know, et cetera, and this sort of thing. But when we stand up and they see that actually there are results for standing up and sticking to your guns and sticking to what is right and insisting that the right be done, well, there's nothing wrong insisting that the right be done.
Yeah.
So we are beyond criticism for doing that. We're not beyond persecution for doing it, but we are beyond criticism. And they're two different things.
There was a town hall meeting in Montreal on the weekend, and I don't usually watch a lot of this stuff, but for some reason, something drew me to watching a rebroadcast of this town hall meeting. The Prime Minister was at this meeting. And I spent a lot of time, something I don't do, reading the comments on Facebook regarding what they were watching and listening. Talk about undercurrent, Jimmy. Talk about these guys better open their eyes fast.
Yeah,
fast.
They're gonna get a serious wake-up call, and they're burying their heads in the sand.
Yeah,
you know. But you see, what is happening is when you bury your head in the sand by surrounding yourself with more and more with yes people, but the group of yes people gets smaller and smaller, and you know what gets bigger and bigger? The group of the security people around you gets bigger and bigger. Is that what you see happening? Of course, that's what's happening. Typical of a dictatorship.
Yeah.
That is so typical, and it's going to fall apart.
Yeah. The longest rope has an end. Thanks, Jimmy.
Absolutely.
By the way, I don't know if you know Clive Devers, but Clive, God knows where he is this morning. This guy, his home is in Ajax. That's a little town just east of Toronto. But this guy travels all over the world constantly, so I don't know where he is. But he says, the purpose of life, and this guy, by the way, is a believer. He says, the purpose of life is to give it away.
Yes, indeed.
Some people just hold on real tightly.
Yeah, exactly. Because, you know, we're all going to go. We are only custodians of everything that we have.
He says the true meaning of life is to find your gift. I guess you found yours, Jimbo.
Well, I'm born like that, George.
Arthur Langine says he hopes you feel better soon. And Rodriguez James says, I wonder if the main station GBN will invite Jimmy on air to enlighten Grenada.
Well, they wouldn't invite me, but I'm going to call them later because this came out late Friday and it's now Monday. So, and they've been pretty good. I don't know. I mean, it's a court decision we're talking about, nothing else, you know.
All right. Thanks a lot, Jimbo, and keep your promise. Come see me soon.
All right, George.
All right.
All the best, everybody.
Well, there you have it. I told you, didn't I? Worth listening to every minute of it. That was Mr. Jimmy Bristol as he spoke with me on Monday morning on this past week's edition of Good Day Grenada. Before I hit the comments on social media, I want to apologize for the audio quality. You may have noticed that we've been having some audio difficulties. You can hear what's being said, but there's an annoying distortion. I'm hoping that issue will be resolved by the end of this week. We're trying to get a new mixer in here, a new console, and that should take care of the issue. So please, bear with us. A little later on, after I speak with my next guest, we're also going to play you another excerpt from Good Day Grenada this past week, and we had the same issue. So please, bear with us, okay? Now, you folks this morning are in good company. I mean, we have some big shots on here with us this morning. I see Dolores Hazzard. Charles Norma is with us. Shadina Cinnamon Brooksfield is with us this morning. Terry Forrester. Mr. Ben Gittins. Mr. Brian Grimes. Hugh Dolland. Wow, the powerhouses are all here this morning, and we are so delighted to have them. Yvonne Joseph. Neil Carl Joseph. Eric Winsborough. These are people who are there, but they're very quiet. Christopher DeRiggs is with us this morning. Ashton Fletcher is with us. So is Shane Ross. These folks are all there very quietly looking on, not saying anything. Now, to the comments. Lydia James, responding to Jimmy Bristol, says, yes, Dorset Charles will be happy about that. It's years now the government is owing him. Yeah, I think that's a very well-established fact here in Grenada. Then we scroll down. Bob Marichaud says, the late Derek Knight, attorney at law, used the Crown Proceeding Act with such devastating effects to go against the government and ministers personally. I am proud of you, Jimmy. Hang in there. So says Bob. Ernesto Jose says, it's about time someone really stands up for we Grenadians. We've been taken for granted by this administration. Kipling Francis says, does anybody know what happened to the $60 million that we borrowed just before the elections? I don't know. Ernesto says, we have the Bar Association of Lawyers, and they're also missing in action when it comes to this administration. Bob Marichaud says, the late William Galway Donovan of Grenada, circa 19th century, went against the British Crown and won. Regrettably, he never lived to see the outcome. So says Bob. Roger Mitchell says, real talk, Mr. Bristol. Floyd Nichols says, yes, yes, yes. Yeah, we got your yeses, Mr. Mitchell. Not Mr. Mitchell, Mr. Nichols. John Crow Alexander says, sounds like Grenada is heading to bankruptcy. The color of one's character. Powerful. Chester Simon out there in Switzerland says, great work, Jimmy. Jorge Murillo Yepes said, how closely related with this important legal topic be to Hi. Please, guys, take your time and type properly, please. How closely related with this important legal topic to personal responsibility of bureaucrats for their blunders against the national treasure? Alana Logie says, it's time the Doc and his boys are held accountable, but I think it should be taken a step further. Their personal assets should be confiscated because when you take away Crown lands and government property, it's still hurting us as a people. But if you take away what's theirs, I believe they'd certainly think before they act. Good point, Alana. Yvonne Joseph says, good morning, George, and morning, Mr. Jimmy. Well, Jimmy's not here this morning, Yvonne. That was pre-recorded. She says, God bless you, sir, as you strive for justice for our people. And Jimmy, just in case you're listening, Lydia James says, to get well soon. Chester says, good job, Jimmy. I'm with you. Ernesto says, we know this administration can be very vindictive when one stands up. So I am praying for his safety. May God bless you, sir. Anthony Park says, Jimmy, good work. Continue to keep up the esprit de corps. Lydia James says, Jimmy, if God is for you, who can be against you? God bless you, sir. I see that we've also now been joined by Hazel Baczynski. My goodness. Woo. Betty Ann Cord says, whoa, words of wisdom, Mr. Bristol. I knew you guys would like that. I knew you guys would like that. Okay, how do you pronounce this? Shadina Simone Brooksfield is saying good morning. Stephen Blythe, John Kennison has nothing changed, still waiting. Okay, that doesn't really relate to us here. Ernesto says, GBN may be beyond the headlines. My head hurts. Shadina says, great job, Mr. Bristol. Your heart is in the right place. Okay, folks, there you have it. Now, coming up next, we're going to be talking with this lady here. She's settling in, and her name is Daizy Hazzard. Take a look. See, there she is. And we're going to get to her right after this.
Conveniently located in the GRENADA Shopping Center, for over 40 years, Food Fair has provided quality service at affordable prices. Now, grocery shopping is made easier and more convenient from the Food Fair web store.
Hey, babe. Listen, I need you to go down to Food Fair to get some groceries.
All right, no problem. Right away.
Thanks, babe. What are you doing? You're supposed to be going Food Fair to get a grocery, man.
I am, but didn't you know you can order your groceries online from the Food Fair web store?
Are you serious?
Of course. All you have to do is just to log on to www.foodfair.gd with credit card in hand, and with an order of $100 or more, Food Fair Granadas will deliver up to 3 miles away. And you don't even have to worry about your information, you know. Their safety measures are excellent.
So hold on. You just order online and Food Fair will deliver to you?
Yep.
Oh, baby, better hurry up and order, man.
I already did. They should be here any minute now.
Enjoy easy online shopping anytime from your home or office from the Food Fair web store. Food Fair, where you can fill your baskets without emptying your pockets.
Juve chocolates, cocoa nibs, and cocoa balls from Diamond Estate Grenada are now available at Amazon.com, Amazon.ca, Amazon.co.uk, and GrenadaMarket.com. Try the sensational touch of nutmeg and a touch of ginger chocolates, 75% dark and rich, 100% pure cocoa, and their 60% dark and sweet chocolate bars today. Amazon Prime members enjoy free shipping on these orders in the USA, Canada, and Europe. GrenadaMarket.com. When you can't come to the island, the products of the island will come to you.
Easy living should be convenient. With GRENADA, it is. Dial 237 for any GRENADA department, or for customer service, streetlight outages, or if it's unsafe to trim a tree near a power line. For streetlights and service issues, please note the pole number. From just about anywhere, you can also check your bill balance and other account information. Just keep your GRENADA access number handy. Dial 237 for GRENADA. It's that easy. GRENADA, energizing our Grenada.
Alrighty, my dear friends, here we go. Let's see here. It's 11:15, 14 minutes after the hour. My next guest, her name is Daizy Hazzard. I think I'm pronouncing that properly.
Yes.
And when you took a look at the rundown on the GrenadaBroadcast.com website, you may have seen the segment listed as the guest being Rachel Roberts, Public Relations Officer for the Public Workers Union. Well, last night I was informed by Ms. Roberts that she would rather not appear this morning. We may have her on at some other time. Now, that segment was set up for the main purpose of addressing some comments that were made by Prime Minister Mitchell when he spoke at a town hall meeting in Montreal a week ago this past Friday. That comment ruffled a lot of feathers in light of what is reality. This past week, the Public Workers Union, they called a press conference to address that issue, and you probably saw the comments made by my guest. We'll talk about that in just a wee bit. I'm sure that you saw the news on one of our local television stations where the president of the Public Workers Union was also responding to the Prime Minister's comments. So for the next 20 minutes or so, let's have a little chat and see where exactly does the PWU stand. First of all, Daizy, thank you very much for coming in this morning. Appreciate it. We're meeting for the first time?
No, we're not. You've met me in theater circles before with Francis Urias Peters Family Theater.
Are you with the Family Theater?
Yes, our association goes back a very, very long time.
That's what gray hair does to you, see?
Well, I'm getting mine.
You're getting yours too?
Yes, I'm getting
yours
mine.
looks black and brown.
Yes.
Daizy, I saw a comment that you made at that meeting, post-cabinet, not post-cabinet, the conference that you guys had. Were you surprised by the public reaction to the statements that were made by the Prime Minister? This is all over social media.
Good morning, George, and thank you very much for having me on this morning. And I also want to extend those greetings to our listeners and viewers. I thank you for having me on. George, I must say that I was heartened by the response from, viewers and listeners and on social media. And at the same time, some of those comments made me very, very sad. Because while the debacle that we're faced with in the phone gate or the phone scandal, as you may wish to call it, seemed to have three responsible parties, a lot of that blame, the bulk of that blame seemed to have been shifted onto the back of public servants. And there seem to be a lot of proponents out there who's very quick to embrace that. And, that is saddening because the facts and the evidence, they're there, they're clear. But also, we've had a very swift, and very positive responses from the public defending public workers. And that also is very, very heartening to us.
It was strange because there are so many examples where the words of the Prime Minister just don't gel with reality. And I think the way you put it in your media conference was that, just ask the people who have felt that wrath. Where are they today?
Exactly.
Yeah?
Where are these people today? I mean, we've heard the Prime Minister's comments, we've heard his statements, and unfortunately, we've heard statements similar to those in the past. Whenever there is an issue, whenever there seem to be anomalies in the system, whenever government does not seem to be doing what it ought to do or to provide, there's always that very quick blame shifted onto the backs of poor and unsuspecting public servants. And the question that I ask is, if we are to believe the Prime Minister's statements that public servants are above victimization and that they can conduct their job without fear or favor, we simply need to do the roll call of history. And perhaps we can start with Richard Duncan.
Go ahead.
And we can come down today to persons like Paul Graham, who is listening in today actually from Accra, Ghana.
Okay.
These persons are out there working for other governments and countries like Paul is doing. These persons are out there building empires in our corporate world like Richard Duncan is doing. They're not with government service. And it's not because they've passed the age of retirement. It is because for one reason or the other, they have been forced out of or have chosen to leave the public service because of one reason or the other. And it's not because they don't want to give service to Grenada or to the public service. So again, where are they?
You mentioned to me that you're pretty new to the Public Workers Union. You've been around there for, what, a year or so?
No, I've just only gotten into executive level this year, past elections in March of this year, yes.
All right. But were you a public servant before?
I have been a public servant. In fact, all of my life, my working life has been in service to Grenada. I started as a teacher at the tender age of 18. I spent about 14 years in the classroom, and I moved into the active public service about 16 years ago. So I have that experience from the teaching service and also from the direct civil service.
You've been around the block, okay.
I have been around the block.
All right. Now, tell me, during that tenure with the public service, tell me about some of the things that you have seen, which again show that what was being said about public servants ain't true.
You know, George and audience, our members are hurting. Our civil service right now is in agony. I mean, so many of our members go to work every day, and for one reason or the other, they're not able to put their skills, their talents, their competence to use for government and for nation building. Many people express to you so much frustration. Among ourselves, we may joke about it. We may even name the offices that they inhabit. We may even give it little names. But it's not funny. It is not funny when persons go out there every day and on their job, in their job, they are forced into depression by the circumstances of their job. We have members who have been falling sick. Very recently, someone my age, my coworker, came down with a very, very serious stroke. And on the last day that she left work, she said, I don't know if I can take this anymore. Because she feels useless in government service, although she's very competent and qualified and wants to work. She's not able to.
Would you say that civil servants, at least some of them, are afraid, just afraid to speak up?
You know, I think today as civil servants, sometimes we think about our job, and we think about the bottom line, and we think about our responsibilities and commitments to our families, and perhaps where we need to be fearless and where we need to be bold-faced and where we need to speak up. We may be reticent to do so. And I don't think that one could blame the civil servant. Because at the end of the day, we all want to live, we all have to live, we all have our responsibilities to our homes.
Got to feed your mouth.
Yep. And you know, am I going to compromise my ethics? Am I going to compromise what I believe in, the principles that I stand for? But how do I balance that vis-a-vis the practical realities of everyday life? How do I balance that? And so sometimes you may just find that you have to err on the side of caution and be silent where you'd like to speak.
And that, I imagine, would be having quite an impact on the morale of staff.
I would say that, you know, morale is down. In fact, I was reading an article by Dennis Pisa in the Barbados today, and the subtext of the article, the headline of the article is violence against unions and violence against civil service. And it speaks about the stresses, and it speaks about the demoralizing things that public servants have to face every day, not just in Grenada, but throughout our region and perhaps the world. And yes, we are a hurting civil service to a large extent. Our members are in pain. Mm-hmm. And every time there is an attack or a perceived attack or something comes out from the government side that seems to be an attack, we shudder. And we wonder how an employer, you know, can do such a thing. Because the Fortune 500 companies, they don't do that. They expend vast resources in motivating and uplifting their staff, because you understand that you can only get productivity and you can only get good results where your human capacity is so driven to provide that. Mm-hmm. A paycheck alone doesn't do it, especially the pitiful paychecks that we work for. Mm-hmm. And so these Fortune 500 companies, these big companies, even right here in Grenada, our local companies understand that you have to reward workers, you have to incentivize them, you have to lift them up, you have to motivate them. And certainly, motivating your workers cannot be that every couple weeks or months, there is an attack by the very persons who are supposed to be building workers up. It goes against the principle of productivity. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so it's very, very sad.
Now, I know that you guys had a press conference this week, and you were very vocal mm-hmm. about this. How does your union intend to address this? I mean, you know, you consider the press conference, say anything you want.
Yes.
Has to go one step further.
Yes. Well, you know, George, our union is 88 years old and 88 years strong. And the Public Service Union of Grenada is strong and will be forever strong. And one of the reasons why I got involved actively in trade unionism is because I realized that there is a need for us at union level to encourage and to motivate our members, to mobilize them, to let them know that there is a union that is out there, that is strong, and is prepared to stand with them and for them and to defend their rights. So I believe that as union, we have to dialogue with government, and we have to sit down with our government and say, this is enough. There is a time to stop. It has gone on far enough. We are on the same team as you are, nation-building team, and so therefore your public utterances, you know, sometimes, as in this case, certainly goes against that. So we need to sit and dialogue with government. We need to speak with government so that government understands that we are on the same page and they ought to be on the same page. But more so, as a public service union, we have a responsibility to go out there to help our members, to serve our members, to engage with them, far more than I think that we've been doing. And this is the reason why I'm sitting here today as public relations officer of the union.
I want to touch on two things here. One, you said you have to dialogue with government, and that's encouraging, but Daizy, to tell you the honest truth, I mean, I've been doing this program, I'm into my 15th year of doing this program, and I have heard of unions dialoguing and dialoguing and dialoguing and dialoguing with government, okay? How do you know when you get to the point where you have to say, hey, enough talk? What's that point?
Well, I think, you know, our service is beleaguered. And perhaps we are at this point where we say that's enough. But again, we have to balance it out with the practical realities. Because there is never a time when, no matter how tired we are, that we can cease to dialogue with government. That's our responsibility as union. But so there's never a time that we can stop that dialogue. But I believe there is a time when we have to engage and empower our membership, when we have to have our membership know what their rights are as civil servants, what their responsibilities are, and to encourage them to carry out their responsibilities with due care so that they can exercise their rights when they need to as well, with vigilance.
Some time ago, you guys did put your foot down and you took to the streets en masse, didn't you?
Yes,
okay.
Yes.
Did that make a difference?
Well, you know, George, I want to commend every single civil servant who came out in the streets in the hot sun and stood up for their union. I want to commend every civil servant who stayed away from the job. I want to commend all those civil servants who are out there, and teachers as well, who are still doing work to rule. We're still going that route. And I believe that while we did have to go back to work, I believe that we showed government that we are prepared to bite the bullet. And even now, every day our civil servants say to us, we are prepared to make the sacrifice. Because we know we've gotten to the point where we cannot just sit down and do nothing or be passive. So yes, every day our members tell us, union is strong, we are behind you, and we are prepared to make that sacrifice.
You know, one of the things that, you know that unions have come under fire.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay? But to the credit of unions, I did notice that, yes, you guys put your foot down and took to the streets in large numbers some time ago. But after that, you were willing to go back to the negotiating table. And I think that demonstrated goodwill.
Mm-hmm.
Agreed?
Yes, it did, definitely.
Okay. And you would do it again?
If we have to, if we are so pushed, yes, we would have to.
See, okay. That's going to put a different face on trade unionism, because trade unions, they come under fire. They come under fire. Just like governments have to be blamed, trade unions have to be blamed in some ways. Here's a note. Peter Bishop. Peter, I hope you took your time to write this, because it just came in. I haven't pre-read it, so I'm going to give it a shot. Peter says, Richard Duncan had mortgage, but stood and fought for his rights. Gemma Bain Thomas has a mortgage, but she stood up and won against government. Too many of our civil servants are cowards and not prepared to fight for their rights when it's infringed. In my humble opinion, lots of our civil servants appear not to know their rights and allow politicians to run over them. My question is, how is it this phone gate was allowed to go on for so long and it was not discovered by our civil servants? Just asking.
Which question would you like me to answer, George?
How is it that phone gate was allowed to go on for so long and it was not discovered by civil servants?
Well, thank you, Peter Bishop, for your comment and for your question. And by your question, I'm taking it that you presume that the phone gate or the excesses of phone use, especially data, went on for so long without being flagged by the civil servant. We don't know that as we sit here today. That has not been presented to us in the media.
Say that again.
I am saying that he's going on the presumption that it has went on for so long without the civil service or a civil servant flagging it. And I'm saying that's a presumption. We have not been presented with that information or that evidence.
Fair enough. Fair enough. But in light of our track record, you can understand why there are people in the public who may think that.
If I may add to that a little bit, George, I've been having discussions with PSs and with persons at the level of Ministry of Finance and even at Ministry of Works. I've had those discussions over the week to try to understand what has happened and how our phone packages with government works. And one of the things that we've found is that there has been a decentralization of accounting for phone use. So in the past, each ministry accounted for the use of phones from their ministry. That has been placed into one ministry, Ministry of Works. So all of the phones, whether it is schools, whether it is civil servants out there, all of civil service phone use has been placed, routed through the Ministry of Works under public utilities. So whereas before it might have been going to, education is managing their accounts and health is doing the same, and so an SAO can look from month to month and see anomalies or differences, this is not the case now. And so that may be in part responsible for. Also, varying level of the service enjoy different packages. The average civil servant gets a package of $40 per month from government. I can tell you, George, it doesn't go very far. We use our own personal. I use my own personal phone to do government's work. But when your package is expired, it's done. There's no more for the month. And so the majority of the use of the phones and what has escalated that bill, as far as we can tell, is through data use and not necessarily cell phone use. Now, that might be a harder thing to manage and to track.
Adriano Davis says, there are times when things are flagged, but they are advised that it should be left alone.
George, civil servants can give advice. A prominent secretary, an SAO in a ministry, we can give advice. And I'm certain that civil servants try as far as they can to carry out their jobs in a manner that they ought to. But that is what we can do, give advice.
Take it or leave it.
Take it or leave it.
Couple more comments here. Fitzroy Adams says, Daizy, I understand what you're saying about dialogue with government, but are you guys getting results?
George, we have a new executive in place. We had elections in March. We took office in April. And I can tell you that right now the Public Workers Union of Grenada has a very strong executive, has a very competent, multi-talented, multifaceted bunch of men and women who are committed. Many of us are very new. We've never been involved in trade unionism before, but we came forward because we recognized that labor faced a challenge such as we've never seen before. And so it was incumbent upon us not to stand behind in the sidelines and call out to our leaders and ask, what are you doing? But to join the fray, to get into the trenches and do the work. And so we are prepared to do the work. We are working behind the scenes. We are working behind the sidelines, getting it done.
Daizy has said, we are prepared to do the work. We are prepared to do it. Where have I heard that before? Where have I heard that before?
Before every time, I'm sure.
Okay. Somebody named Richard Darren Belgrave says, hey, all you look my teacher? You said you were a teacher, right?
I was a teacher, yes. Okay. I am a teacher. Once a teacher, always a teacher.
Ian Thomas says $40 a month for employed public servants, but $28,000 for unemployed political mouthpiece? Huh. They're hard-hitting.
Yes.
Kipling Francis, did you say Ministry of Works under Minister Bowen? Whoa. Putting cat to watchman cheese. This name may be familiar to you. Somebody named Brian Grimes?
Yes, absolutely familiar.
Yeah. How are you, Mr. Grimes? Long time no see. Mr. Grimes says, whoa, Sister Daizy, your dialogue is both sobering and refreshing.
Thank you, Grimes. Thank you so much.
Okay. Do you think that this phone gate is going to bring about some major changes in the accounting?
I believe so. I mean, government has admitted to embarrassment. And I think that in large part, that embarrassment has caused the shifting of so much of the blame onto the back of public servants. But coming out of this, it is incumbent upon government and upon civil service to ensure that something like this is not repeated. And so certainly it must bring about, and we in the public service, we are calling for policies that would ensure that this does not occur again.
Chris Riggs, you know that guy?
Yes, certainly, theater practitioner.
My goodness.
Leading
Chris,
playwright.
Chris, I did not know you were still alive.
Good
boy.
morning, Chris.
Good to see you, Chris. Chris says, you said there was, or there has been, a decentralization. Did you mean centralization?
Sorry, yes, centralization. I think even while I was saying the words, my mind registered that it was the wrong way around. So there has been a centralization, whereas in the past it was decentralized and segregated, you know, to different ministries.
Why do you think I have Chris here today?
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for pointing that out.
Let's see here. Ricardo Darren Belgrave said,
That's my student again.
It's good to see you, new faces and new. It's good to see new faces and new perspectives. And Dennis Clark says, yes, Chris, she meant centralization. There's a note here from Adriano Davis. He says, even in volunteering for government, you have to sometimes use your own resources to get the task done.
Yes.
I've heard a lot of that too.
Yes.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
All right, Daizy. All right. I hope you guys are going to stay on this. And I'm looking forward to hearing what the other unions have to say. I'm also a little bit concerned. You know, I try to get the churches on here today. No luck.
You know, George, the churches seem to be very selective in their preaching. That's my opinion. That's my observation.
Well, it's not only yours. Don't go flapping your hat. You're not the only person
You know,
who feels that way.
we heard them urging civil servants and teachers to return to the classroom last year during our strike action. And then, you know, later on when they were called upon to speak again, when civil servants' pay was docked, they said, no, the church can't get involved. And I mean, if that isn't blatant hypocrisy and shirking of responsibility, I don't know what is. So I hope they will speak out. They ought to.
I am very hopeful that I will get to hear from the business community, the chamber.
Yes, absolutely.
I am expecting them here next week. Okay. Bob Marishow says, Daizy, what's the function of the audit department? What checks and balances are in place to catch anomalies like excessive spending of government finances?
You know, you're asking me very direct questions. I work at Ministry of
They are
Education.
asking you very direct questions.
And I wish I could answer all of your questions as directly as you have. But certainly there are checks and balances within the audit department, you know, to ensure that government spending is within bounds. And the phone situation has thrown up some issues that perhaps needs looking into. And so where there are checks and balances that need to be put into place to ensure that something like this does not happen again, government and civil service ought to act to redress those quickly.
Somebody called, these names, Ambitious James.
Ooh.
Ambitious James says, how do we deal with low productivity in the service?
You know, that's a good question. And again, it goes back to how responsible and committed do our members feel. As you know, a union, we call on our members to be responsible in the functions, in carrying out the functions of their duties. But we also call on government and employer to ensure that your staff is motivated to work.
Betty Ann Court says, Miss Daizy, it's Miss Hazzard. Hazzard?
Yes.
Oh, how do you pronounce it?
Hazard.
Hazard.
Yes, Hazzard for that matter.
Miss Daizy. Let's stick with Miss Daizy. It's easier for me, okay. Betty Ann Court says, Miss Daizy, having dialogue is a good start and practice to productivity in building our nation.
Okay.
Is that one of the missions of your union? You know, people have been crying out about productivity in the civil service. I mean, Daizy, sometimes it's painful. Anytime I have to pick up my phone and call a government office, I get this thing in my chest. They answer the phone. Hello, this is so-and-so office. Yes, may I speak to Daizy Hazzard, please? You want to talk to her? Hell no. Why the hell am I calling if I don't want to talk to her? You know, that kind of thing, Daizy. Productivity. Okay. All right. Yes, I would like to speak to her. Hold on. Person comes back. She gone on lunch. Okay. When do you expect her back? I don't know. Okay. This is what I'm trying to find out. Is there somebody else who can help me? Well, I don't know now. Daizy, you're laughing, but it's a reality we have to deal with on a daily basis.
Yes, George. It is a reality, and I think both government and union, the employer and union, has to take some responsibility for that. And certainly, union, works with our workers to ensure that they are as professional as they can be. But George, I want to ask a question here this morning. How many of our frontline service members, your persons who answer the PBX, for instance, ask the question, have they ever received training from the employer? Have they ever? Has any one of them? I have been with the public service for how many years? Whatever training I have received, it has not been directly from government.
Yeah. All right, the questions are coming in fast and furious. Sharon Roberts says, this is not entirely true. Bishop Harvey spoke out about the docking of teachers' pay.
Okay, maybe I missed it.
Okay. Lydia James says, Conference of Churches? I think it's Conference of Hypocrites. Ernesto says, Mr. PM, we in the diaspora are very much in touch with what's happening at home. And I think that's something the Prime Minister forgets.
You know, George, I have a lot of family in the diaspora, and many times things that are happening in Grenada, they are the ones who have to point it out to me. They are in touch. They are locked into Grenada.
Fitzroy Adams says, Daizy, I live in the USA. I am involved in unions. We never call off a strike while negotiations are taking place.
I do agree. I certainly agree.
Ernesto Jose says, first I want to congratulate Junior George for asking the PM the phone gate questions, which brings out the true colors of the PM and his behaviors when he is in the diaspora. Adriano Davis says, firing from the hip, go girl. Simeon McVeigh says, amen, 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 Daizy.
Thank you.
Okay. I'm going to try. How do you pronounce SH''DWNA? Shadina?
Shadina. Yeah, it sounds like Shadina.
Cinnamon Brookersfield says, the church also urged the return to the negotiating table when the momentum was building towards shutting down the country in the pension and gratuity fight. The unions listened to the church. In hindsight, a big mistake.
Yes, absolutely.
The negotiations should have remained on the streets. So says Shadina. Thank you, Shadina. Marcel Belmar says public officers must hand over government cell phones when proceeding on vacation. What is government's policy with regards to ministers and government cell phones? Can government produce the cabinet's conclusion number that speaks to the use of government cell phones by government ministers? Is there such a...
You know, George, it's very curious that, as I said, I spoke with a number of civil servants at the level of PS and SAO, and they were able to concretely tell me the provisions and the policies guiding cell phone use by workers, not so much the higher echelons of government, not so much the ministers.
Ricardo Barron Belgrave says, I strongly believe that all service is a calling. Not all are cut out to do it. A level of responsibility is important. Brian Grimes says there is a Hello, Brian. You're active this
Again?
morning. Brian says there is a proliferation of untrained Imani workers in the public service now. Let's remember this. And that's been told to me before, that when you get these people answering these phones who don't have a clue.
You know, George, and I want to recognize this morning the plight of the Imani. The plight of the Imani workers in Grenada really does concern me, because I see them as an educated bunch of young persons in Grenada who has been made an underclass in the civil service. And yes, they work many times without training, and a lot of them sit at our frontline offices answering the phones.
Shadina says, I'm told Bishop Harvey spoke out about the docking of salaries to his congregation. In my opinion, he should have gone public. If he did, I'm not aware. Ricardo Barron Belgrave says there are not many mechanisms in place for personal, professional development in the country. That's the point you're trying to make.
In the public service especially.
Yeah. And Tyrone Wilson says, do you think contract work is affecting the union's ability to be effective?
You know, George, the union is under siege and attack on many, many fronts, and never more than by the employer. And yes, we see a government that by and large, the civil service, our membership is being eroded by so many anomalies. We have, you know, honest established workers, workers with no letters, workers who are employed but they don't even know the terms and conditions. So where before it was straightforward, you serve a probationary period, as soon as a vacancy becomes available, you move into it. Now we have permanent positions vacant. Imani's workers are filling it. I wish that these young people would be given those permanent spots, but somehow government is not so minded.
Arthur Langai.
Is that a frequent customer?
Arthur Langine says the people should stop going to church, and then they will have to go out of business.
Wow.
Adriano Davis says the church needs to be more involved and protective when it comes to the issues affecting public workers. Education of the general public is also a task they should take up.
Absolutely. You know, the churches, I know that the Council of Churches do, part of the framework, you know, is not to get involved politically and not to interfere at all in the functioning of the state. But where you wade into the waters and you urge your civil service to go back to work, and then something negative comes out of that, I believe that you had a responsibility because you chose to act.
Bob Marichaux says, my advice to Daizy and the PWU is to sit down with the government and make attempts to modernize the civil service. Again?
Again.
How many times are we going through this modernization process?
Yes.
Too many redundancies and incompetencies. I'm not taking sides, but I would like to get good service once I'm doing business with the government. I think an investment in human resources and training would help. Ernesto says, where are you now with the pension and gratuity issue?
Well, presently that issue is before the court. I think after the failure of the strike, you know, the unions took the course of going to, because we believe that our best recourse is in the law. The law clearly speaks to the pension and gratuity issue. It is not something we should have to fight for. It is enshrined in our Constitution.
Okay. Ambitious James says, therefore, how will the union deal with contract labor? This cannot continue.
Again, you know, our union wrestle with a lot today. Our union wrestle with a lot. We know that contract labor is not good, not for the union, not for the employees. We know that government is also aware of that. And there has to be a balance between what the state feels it has to do in order to manage the state resources and in terms of, and looking after its people.
Okay.
Certainly the state cannot be catering to keep its people in jobs that cannot sustain them. Because if you cannot sustain yourself with your job, it means that you live in poverty.
All right. John Crow Alexander, why are the unions not providing personal development training in areas where needed?
I am certain, and I know for a fact that over the years, the unions and the Public Workers Union of Grenada, does train its workers. But there is only so much that the union can do, and this is not the primary part of our mandate.
Okay.
We do it, and we know that we have to, because we have to ensure that our service is professional and that our service members are aware of what their responsibilities to the employer is and that they carry those out. We are aware of that.
Okay.
Yes.
Alana Logie says, we're hearing about phone bills. I wonder what other skeletons are there in the closet of our public purse?
George, therein lies the question. Everybody's asking that question.
Yeah.
Yes. Where else in the system? Where else in the system perhaps we may find these excesses? Where else in the system cater for these excesses?
And we're made to believe that because of the IMF's monitoring, everything's going hunky-dory. And what? We have something called the Fiscal Responsibility Act.
Yes.
Okay. John says, if you lay with a dog, you get fleas. Arthur says, my sister, my heart goes out to you and your members, and my heart goes out to you guys. Okay, Daizy, we got to run.
Yes, George.
Thank you very much. I'm glad you've been in here to chat with me. Thank you very much. And I would really like to see these two matters come to a resolution, the Cellgate and the attitude towards the public servants.
Yes.
For God's sakes, when you sit down in a forum and you look into a camera, just tell me the truth. Sometimes it may hurt, but at least you have a clear conscience.
Yes.
You told the truth.
Yes.
Don't lie.
Don't dodge it.
Don't dodge it.
Don't pass the buck to someone else. Thank you, George.
Hope to see
Thank
you
you,
again.
listeners.
Thank you very much for dropping by. Now, folks, a couple of things here. I'm going to make a little change here. I'm going to make that change here. I had planned on showing you a piece this morning with Brian Pitt where he addressed the issue we were just talking about and some other issues as well pertaining to Carnival and so on. But one, we are almost out of time, okay? Brian's piece is something like 25 minutes long, and I really don't want to do that. If you want to see that, it's up on the GRENADABROADCAST.com website. Just go to GRENADABROADCAST.com and scroll down a little bit to the archive section. Look for Good Day Grenada and check out Friday's program. You'll hear Brian, okay? What I'd like to do, and even this is going to take us over time, what I'd like to do is show you 3 very short clips involving an incident which occurred this past week at the Spice Mass Corporation. All right? That's another issue, boy. Facebook has been a buzz with this story, and I mean a buzz. Apparently, exclusive rights have been granted to Glenelg spring water, and as a result, other water companies like Mount Pure are not going to be allowed to sell their product at Spice Mass events. The owner of Mount Pure didn't take too kindly to that, okay? First, she held a press conference, and after the press conference, apparently took the media with her to the Spice Mass Chief Executive Officer's office. And it's been described as an altercation. I don't know if you go as far as calling it an altercation, but anyhow, I'm going to show you what happened. There's very little audio, but I think you'll get the gist of what happened. Right after that, I'm going to show you a statement which was made by the chairperson of the Spice Mass Corporation, Ms. Gibbs, Genevieve Gibbs. And finally, a short clip from an attorney who seems to think there is an issue with trying to prevent other bottled water producers from selling their stuff. But that's debatable, and that's going to be resolved in a court of law, okay? First of all, here's the clip in which this lady attempted to get into the office of the CEO of Spice Mass. Here's what happened.
I just want to do I have to tell can I sell Monkey at the carnival? Can I sell Monkey at the carnival? If you heard using my feet. Well, sorry, you can. Can I sell Monkey at the carnival?
Hey, wait, boss. And that's camera boss, you're the country making a number. No. You tell me this is a lady, brother. This is a lady, brother. Listen to me, you're supposed to be fucking hard, man. You can't do this. Shit.
Okay, listen, the lady with the one, lady what? Step there for me, please. Nice. You can't do that.
You wouldn't help the lady, brother?
Akita, just step back. Step back. Right.
Girls, are we gonna go, man?
Please. He broke my hands. He broke my hands.
Get up.
He broke my hands.
I break your hand, ma'am?
Yes, you have. All I'm asking you is can we sell? Can you help me up? All I'm just coming to ask you is can we sell Monkey? That's all I wanted. That's all I'm asking
I don't want to be on no camera, please.
All I'm asking you is can we sell
I don't want to be on no camera. Do I make myself clear?
Can you...
Have your stuff.
God, after spending well over $4 million in Grenada, is this how I'm going to be treated? After spending over $4 million in Grenada of my hard-earned money just to give my people work, that is how I'm going to be treated? What should I do? Should I sell up and leave? Should I sell up and leave? What should I do? Tell me. Should I leave? Should I leave? After spending so much money, should I leave? Have you seen that the CEO, what he did to my arm? All I wanted to say to him, can I tell the people to come to work today? That's all. Can they work? Let me just go.
Yeah. Oh, you
Kevin,
drive.
you'd have to join.
That's okay, just what you intend to do now and how you feel.
That's right.
I'm going to go to the doctor.
Okay, so just a minute.
My hands.
Tell us what happened in there and then what you intend to do.
My arms. I just want to go to the doctor. My arms.
What did he exactly do?
He squeezed me in the door. He shut the door on my shoulder. He tried to kick me out of there. And he pushed me and threw me down on the floor. And the door, when he squeezed my hands in the door. Yes, I am going to make a report to the police. I guess as much you have it all on camera. All I want to do is job. All I want to do is to give people a job, nothing else. I don't want to do anything else. I don't want confusion. I just want to be able to tell the young people and them they've got a job. That's all I want to do.
Right? Okay. A few quick comments here. First of all, Ryan Jabon says, he slammed the door on her arm. Ricardo Darren Belgrave says, listen to this woman, full of antics. You can see that she had other motives. She should win an Academy Award. Ernesto Jose says, wow, that's crazy. How could he? Dennis Char says, what is Grenada coming to? Lydia James says, every time I see this, I get real angry. She is so wrong. He break her hand, but she limping. Why? She can act well. Missing in Hollywood. Nicole James Phillips says, I cringe. Ricardo Darren Belgrave says, the guy in the red should get Best Supporting Actor. John Kennison's antics are not. That was totally unjustified. Bob Marishow says, this thing bothers me a lot. Prefer not to see it. Ernesto says, did the police get involved? Sad, sad, sad. Ryan Jabon says, take her to the ER for medical assessment. Ernesto Charles says, stop it, people. Two wrongs don't make a right. Lydia James says, she caused that on herself. Why put her foot and arm in the way when the CEO attempted to close the door? Arthur Langine says, woman beater. Alana Logie says, never a dull moment. Mandu Seal says, acting or not, it's very unprofessional. You cannot do that, my brother. Ryan says, attacking a woman? Claude Pudner says, he must be a NNP. Why do we have to bring politics into this? Why? All right, folks, so you've seen that. Now, here's the statement that was issued later on that day by the chairperson, Genevieve Gibbs, of the Spice Mass Corporation.
As chairperson of the Spice Mass Corporation, it is important that I speak on two separate issues coming from what unfolded today with officials from Mount Pure and the Spice Mass Corporation. We have seen various video versions of a confrontation at the office of the SMC involving an official of the water company and our chief executive officer. I wish to categorically state that the board of directors and the management of the SMC do not condone or advocate any form of violence, be it deliberate or provoked. As such, we have immediately ordered a full review of what transpired and have already received a comprehensive report from the SMC staff present at the time of the disturbance. Additionally, the SMC staff would have also placed a call to the Royal Grenada Police Force, and it is our understanding that they are conducting an investigation. We are committed to having a final conclusion of this matter in short order. On the other matter of the Mount Pure water complaint, this matter would be addressed legally as an injunction has been filed. It is instructive to note that as part of the SMC mandate, we are expected to seek sponsorship for all our events. While doing that, it is imperative that we protect our sponsors and their commitment to the delivery of our carnival products. It will be a breach of our sponsorship engagement if we were to allow any brand that competes with our approved sponsors to date. Through our many engagements, we have successfully concluded contractual arrangements with a number of stakeholders and sponsors whose valuable support is key for the successful execution of our carnival product. Besides SMC organized events, there are many other opportunities available throughout the season that companies can embrace to promote their brand and sell their products. We are optimistic that Spice Mass 2019 will be one of the biggest carnivals ever, and we are excited about the opportunities for positive financial impact for vendors, small traders, local companies, and Grenada as a whole. It is important that we all work towards achieving a sustainable carnival product, a successful Spice Mass 2019, many events, one carnival. I thank you.
All right, finally. This all has to do with the Spice Mass Corporation not allowing this lady to sell her Mount Pure bottled water at Spice Mass events. I bumped into Anselm Clouden that very same afternoon. He's an attorney at law, and he gave me this comment about whether or not Spice Mass can actually do that.
It appears to me that any attempt to prohibit trade, that is to say, dealings between on commodities by injunctive relief acts as a restraint on trade, and that is prohibited in a free market economy. The freedom of the market interacts buyers, sellers, demand and supply. Now, there is no patented or copyrights in the Spice Mass to prohibit the sale of commodities at their activity. That just can't be legal. And I think a court would be hesitant to grant either a prohibitory injunction or a mandatory injunction restraining that type of commercial activity.
Studying too hard about back-to-school expenses? Co-op Bank is making back to school as easy as 1, 2, 3. Enjoy competitive interest rates, affordable monthly payments, speedy decisions on applications. Come in and apply today.
Alrighty, folks. Yeah, Georgie Porgy's got to run. Georgie Porgy's got to run. But I ain't leaving you without a parting word from the Holy Scriptures. Today's inspirational, if you will. It comes to you from the first book of John, chapter 1. Okay? It says, if we claim to be without sin, we deceive ourselves, and the truth is not in us. If we confess our sins, he is faithful and just, and will forgive us our sins and purify us from all unrighteousness. If we claim we have not sinned, we make him out to be a liar, and his word is not in us. 1 John 1. First book of John, chapter 1, verses 8 to 10. Pilgrims, on that note, Georgie Porgy's going to say thank you so much. Oh boy, what a morning this has been. Whew, I'm hungry. Thank you. Where's Mags? I haven't seen Mags this morning. Mags, where are you when I need food? Folks, we'll see you tomorrow morning for the next edition of Good Day, Grenada. In the meantime, I do pray that God will bless you and keep you, and that you will enjoy life to the fullest. So long.